Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you can see the panel here, it's 3 Italians and an Albanian. Sounds like 1945 all over again. Just kidding. Didn't mean to go that route. But hey, everyone, welcome to a special episode where we've got the Calcio brothers coming in. We're going to talk some Calcio in a sense, in the terms of why Italy needs to get their shit together and get some Italian players going, because I'm tired of watching random foreigners play in Italian clubs and be leading lights. No, that sounds absolutely terrible. Sorry, YouTube, it's 30 seconds in. But anyways, joined by the Calcio brothers and my co-host, Maple Dave. German Dave is going on vacation, so he is not here. He gone for a couple weeks.
So you just kind of made this name up from them. I mean, they're Primo Calcio. I guess, does the Calcio brothers work?
Yeah, one's in blue, the other one's in red. The only thing is if he actually had green, it would be like a perfect thing. There's your thumbnail.
That's right.
Well, that's Bernabe. See, that's Bernabe there. That's our hero. I think he's the face of Calcio in 2025.
He's definitely. I know him now. You've immortalized him in my life.
Yeah, he's a big deal for us.
All right, so please go over your channel, Primo Calcio. Just kind of a new one. You've been doing it for a few months now. Tell us about your channel.
Mike, you do it.
Basically, it's Calcio first. So we have an Italian heritage, and we really believe, honestly, on both of our teams. I'm a Milan fan, and Anthony is a Juve guy, and so we both believe there should be a strong Italian core to our teams, and kind of build from there. And our teams have both gone away from that recently. So we've got fed up with a lot of this, especially with the growth of career, everything really broke apart, and teams were just going, foreign to kind of save on salary and whatnot, and just breaking the core, breaking the foundation of the team. So we said it's Calcio first, it's Italy first, basically. I wouldn't have said it in the past, but these past few years, with this where my mentality is, I'm actually even supporting Inter in the Champions League, not in Serie A. I want Napoli to take that, of course, but in the Champions League, I want Italy to succeed. The rest can, of course, in Coppa and Serie A, since Inter's rivals, definitely want them to fail in that. But in Serie A or in Champions League, I'm pushing for the Italian teams. Now, if they had no Italians on it, I would not have pushed for them. But because they have a core there, like Bastoni, Di Marco, those guys, then I can push for them in that. So that's our roots. That's what we kind of set forward. So our team of the season right now is Fiorentina, because they are promoting the young Italian movement, and I hope they succeed to promote those guys. Now, that's not a good enough team to kind of build for our team, but that's the start. That's our foundation.
Yeah, that's been the kind of Primo Calcio team for us this year, and they've gone through some changes. But yeah, we've been following them with great interest,
philosophy-wise.
Yeah.
You know how ironic that is? A team called Internazionale is the one with the most Italian players.
It didn't used to be.
Wow,
now we
are.
Like
I'm sitting here like, what the hell is this? Like, what am I living?
This is something new. It's because of their new management.
Because that's why they broke away from Milan, was because they didn't want to have just strictly Italian players, and now it's the other way around. I'm bamboozled.
Yep, that's a big problem for us too. Yeah, I mean, they've always been Materazzi only. Who's the one guy? Santone they brought him in, and Balotelli once in a while. I think Mourinho played the most. He had 3 of them. Now I think when Conte got there and Marotta got there, they rebuilt very similarly to the way they rebuilt Juventus in 2010, and they established those. They brought in those blue collar Italians. Guys like, what was it, Candreva and D'Agostino, and got even Gagliardini.
I mean, you can call Daniele D'Ambrosio. I think he's also. I mean, he's at Monza, but again, that's and that's the irony of it, is because I think you were on stream once, Primo, listening when I was talking about it with Napoli, right? Napoli is, even though it's not Morata there, they're literally following the same proof of concept in a sense.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's Giovanni Mana that's doing that too. It's not, some wizard.
Yeah. I mean, Mana did a good job with us. I know he wasn't doing all the scouting for our young guys, but I mean, he was helping build that next gen. So I mean, he did a good job, and I think he's doing a good job there. I like that they signed Marianucci too, and they got Haza. I think they're going to make more signings like that too come the summer. And I actually hope that Conte stays there, because I like what he's doing. Even Spinazzola resurrecting his career. It's case in point.
Is it Napoli's time to shine?
Please don't say that. Please don't say that. I can't.
I like Napoli.
I can't. They won the one and they didn't know how to act. I'm like, God, good Lord, they get another one.
But
They'll
they could
get
just
used to
become regulars. That might just like slow
Yeah.
them down a little bit.
They'll get used to it. It's new to them, you know. So no, they don't know how to act. But you know, you keep
It's-
winning.
yeah. It's like they first discovered like porn and jacking off.
Yeah.
What is
They
this?
They ejaculated onto their pillow for the first time.
Oh my
Yeah.
Lord! Yeah, they did on Spalletti's little Fiat. That's why they tipped it over.
Yeah, right.
They brought their first crispy sock to their mom. They're like, "Look what I did."
Yeah, look at this. You like this sock? Like, get your socks out, footy nerds. This gonna get good.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it was. But if they keep winning, it's they're welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Conte always leaves a decent wake after he leaves, though, because the team still kind of live off of his scraps afterwards for a little while, no matter where Juve, Inter, now it could be Napoli. Even if he leaves this year, I think he'll
Chelsea,
stay one more at least.
yeah.
But yeah, the team still feed off that for a bit, and if you can hang on to that and build on it, Napoli could be fine for a while.
I think to kind of add on to that point, I think strategically you need a pragmatic coach to fill in that. Because like for example, if you look at the two success stories, I would say is us and Inter, where when he left, you had a pragmatic tactician as Allegri or Inzaghi take over them. Whereas like for example, with Chelsea, they just nosedived. Like there wasn't much success after.
Well, they
he left.
won the Champions League, right? 2 years after he left with Tuchel or whatever.
No, I think it no, because he was there in 15-16. He was there at Chelsea.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So that was Sadi, where he won it with Tuchel. Because Sadi was there 18-19, I believe. No, I think it was 18-19. He was there 18-19, and then they won the Europa League, and then about 2 years later, Tuchel took over. But Conte was there, I want to say the season
He was right after Juve, right?
after the Euro 2016.
Yeah, Conte
yeah,
was
that's right.
2016 to 18. Sorry, took over earlier after that. Then it was Lampard, and then Tuchel. So
Okay.
Tuchel was about 5 years after.
Yeah, where again, it's success. Like for example, if you're able to find a proper pragmatic coach to follow in, because again, you don't need a foundation builder, you just need a guy that can manage it. And I think that's what kind of worked, and that's why Inter's doing as well as they are. Because again, you have the core set up. Conte's already drilled them of how to play and how to do the fundamentals. Where you just have an Inzaghi now, or his effective, and that's the thing where I think a lot of people don't understand with Inzaghi's tactical ability is. Inzaghi doesn't have to set the table. He just has to scheme against other teams right now. Because that's his main focus, because all of his like main pieces are already established. You have your midfield, you have your main distributor, you have again your main playmaker up top. You have effectively replaced Lukaku with Marcus Thuram, right? Like for example, Ram's first stint at Inter, where he was a beast. As far as a goal and assist machine, you've effectively replaced that with Thuram. So it's like for him, it's more so how does he effectively scheme against the opposition versus, like for example, in a Juve's case, and I might dabble in a little bit with Milan. I'm not too familiar with them, so you gotta bear with me for a minute. But like with Juve, we're kind of like, what the hell are we doing? Like with Motta, and then the same thing with Tudor, where it's like I think sometimes with Conceição, like. You guys kind of play counterattack, but at sometimes I'm kind of like, what the hell does he scheme you guys up for? It's sometimes
I don't think
like
he has a tactic.
Yeah, he doesn't. He just set the lineup. He finally found the formation that everybody knew we should be playing since like 5 years ago. So that's why it's working better of late, because the guys are at least in the right spot, but he has no real tactics.
Yeah, for me, you guys not going after Max Allegri is a huge shocker. Like if you needed a man manager that could manage and at least set some kind of stability, I would have gone for Max. Unless he didn't want to go to Milan, but that to me shocked me that it was Conceição instead of Max.
I think that the team really wanted to go for, and as you can see with all their transfers, and even early on, like they said they wanted a foreign manager. That's why they ended up going with Fonseca, because they had Conte. He was very early linked with Milan in the summer. I think that was actually like one of his prime destinations. But there's no way that would have ever worked with the egos in charge at Milan. And then they were looking at a bunch of other coaches, top coaches too, and then nope, they went with a random name out of left field. They said they wanted to go forward, and they did it again. I think that's why you're seeing all these people talk about like, is Milan going to do like a re-Italianization this coming off season? I don't know if they really will, but a lot of rumors about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and the interesting thing is you guys have names on the team. Like, it's not like you have like random jabronis. Like, sure, you could probably say João Felix is washed, and that's a fair argument to have. I'm kind of pissed because Dave and I have always wanted Christian Pulisic at Juve, but you guys got him.
Yeah,
That
we were
summer for 20 million.
yelling.
We were
for
just
him.
like, everyone was calling us crazy for it. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Awesome. No, he's been
He's
awesome.
a hard worker, man.
It's exactly. And it was like, because you guys got him for 25, 30 million-ish.
That's a great
It
price.
wasn't bad. Yeah, he's probably doubled now. So
I know, and I'm like sitting there, and I have all these, like, I swear, I don't know what they're called.
We had Chiesa.
Yeah, we had Chiesa. No, but like we had these nepotistic like Juve fans who were just like, "Oh my gosh, Christian Pulisic is injury prone. Why would you want?" I'm like, dude,
All these
an
guys
American.
are injury prone, man. Come on.
That's what it was. He was an American, which I know was a topic that was asked to us. I think yesterday by Jeff. The whole debate on if Americans and probably by extent like any person from an outside, like a not prime footballing country, but regardless, we're here talking about the Italians in particular, but we can do a little aside here that like
I don't think the Americans are very good typically, but Pulisic
They're
is
not.
absolutely good.
but it doesn't mean this one isn't.
well,
And he's on a good
Exactly.
deal, which is even more
Yeah.
Well,
important.
exactly. But
well,
then
the
you look
crazy
like Jonathan David right now, right? Like teams are going to be lining up. He's a Canadian in this case, but teams are going to be lining up for him. It's at the point now where like these secondary, tertiary countries, like Iceland can throw out some talent, right? Like if Iceland, anybody can do it.
Yep.
So why are we treating?
I mean,
all these
Georgia can do
American?
it. You got Kavara, who's like, I mean, nobody's coming from there, right? But the one-offs can make it right now, especially, and because a lot of guys travel early. I mean, Pulisic grew up at Dortmund. He didn't even grow up in the U.S. like system,
exactly.
you know, and he's been playing quality since he was like 16 years old. So yeah, that's definitely why he's been the brightest and best. So I don't think, especially in his case, I don't think his nationality should have had as much of an effect as it did. But you're right. That's probably why he was, people didn't maybe want him because of that. But he's a hard worker. He's knows the grindstone. He has quality, which I think is why he wins a lot of people over. People were pretty skeptical bringing him to Milan as well. But like when you see him working every game in and out, and he produces, like you can't help but support that. You know,
He's a solid like sevens across the board.
Well, and the thing that makes
Always.
it a beauty, and it's what makes it a beauty about Pulisic is like the argument that I was dealing with at the time where he's injury prone. I'm like, do you realize a guy of his stature playing in the Prem? Of course you're going to get injury prone because the Prem style is big, strong, fast. That's it. There's no tactic. There's a reason why Pep was dominating the Premier League. It wasn't because of, all these amazing fucking schemes and packages. Like, no, it was because Pep was the only person that employed a tactic. Anytime you got a tactician in the Premier League, they would win the league. Conte goes in.
Conte, case in point.
Exactly. Nobody plays the 3-back line in the Premier League. You're just going to get torn up. And then Conte's like, yeah, hold my nuts. And that's kind of what he did.
And half the league copied him after that.
Exactly. So and then it's just like, for me, tactically, England is there. There's no tactics in the Premier League outside of what I've seen from Pep. All the efficient teams or the successful teams are the ones that are just really fast and blast to the wings and just run with pace. Guess what? They get cooked by Carlo Ancelotti in the Champions League whenever they face off anyways. The only difference was this time was at Arsenal was just like, fuck it. Let's just play pragmatic and win off set pieces. But
Well, you know what, though? The 2-7-2 defeated Pep Guardiola this year. So let me tie my man bun up.
oh my Lord. I'm looking at you, IFTV. No.
He didn't stand a chance against these tactics.
Oh,
No, I mean they also spent a lot of money over there, and Pep knew what he was doing. I mean they had he had everything he needed. So, but I don't think the EPL's. I think it's overrated. for sure.
Absolutely. And again, like for example, when you take Pulisic and you bring him over to Serie A, where there's not as much of a physical demand on his body than there would be in the Premier League, and it is more so zonal coverage and zonal play, he's more available.
Yep.
Man, logic. And that's where I've always said, I've always told people, except, for Lloyd Kelly, I've always been against him because he's ass. But like, if you're looking at a winger from the Premier League and you are able to bring him into Serie A and you incorporate him well, they'll be productive. I'm not saying they're going to be world-class, super elite talent, but they're going to be productive.
Well, we don't really believe in wingers all that much over here at
that's
Primo
why we don't.
Calcio. We think it's a
We don't pay them.
very generic position. Yeah.
It's like the running backs of the NFL. I remember I said that, and you're just like, yes, I like this.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the same way. It's although running backs used to be, that's the reason I don't watch NFL anymore. No one runs a football, but yeah, it's the same. Yeah, same thing. So you can find wingers are a dime a dozen. You can find them everywhere. No need to pay one. Just throw a guy out there. I don't even really like playing with wingers, but I suppose we are.
Yeah, I mean everything now is wide, right? And even then the wingers are basic. It's just pass backs and check two passes. There's nothing anything.
It's easy to understand. It's easy to make somebody play. Yeah. Yeah, it's good for beginning players to play. Go play wing.
You go play wing. Just go run up and down and kick ball and box.
Yeah, I think that was like the position when we had our adult league team. That's when we'd put our guys who didn't really know what the hell they were doing. Just some buddies that wanted to play. Go play wing.
Just go play wing. Sometimes just check back, cover the area, but that's it.
Yeah, you'll be open. Don't worry.
So I think the main thing that we kind of wanted to discuss, and I've kind of had like my opinions on this, is the mediocrity of Italian players right now, right? Where part of it is the FIGC, or I think they're hugely to blame for this. Because here's my thought. I've kind of given it, but I'm going to kind of go a little bit more in depth on it, and then you guys can feel free to pick the argument apart. My issue is that the FIGC has allowed teams like Sassuolo, I'm just going to call them ass because they piss me off and I still hate them, or you allow these teams to overinflate Italian players' values for minor feats, right? Minor things that they've done, they pump up their value or they skyrocket their value, and then they make it exquisitely difficult for top teams to purchase them. And then because of it, the fans have these high expectations, right? Where you're like, oh, we paid $50 million for this midfielder. And in reality, he's a 25 million midfielder at best. So when he's coming in with that price tag and that pressure, because if someone spends 50 million for you as a midfielder, you're supposed to be a guaranteed crucial starter.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way that you're not. So and then you come in with that, and in reality, you're maybe first team rotational, and then you bomb, and then you have the Juve-tards, as I like to call them, because they change affiliations like the weather in Michigan, where all of a sudden they're guzzling your name and they're just beating off to you, and then a week later they're saying that you should get sold. So like you look at it from that perspective, you're going to tank this player effectively, and they're not going to pan out because unfortunately they were put on this stupid pedestal of a value. And for me, I blame the Italian Federation for allowing stupid transfer prices like this to even be a thing. Because, they're more busy finding some stupid loopholes in Juve's transfer strategies than sitting there and telling, hey, there's a reason why our national team isn't performing well. There's a reason why we haven't had a great crop of Italian players. Let's try to figure out the root cause. Oh, great. Yeah. Sassuolo is selling guys that are bench players to other teams for 50 million, and people are dumb enough to buy them. And this is where
Locatelli, you mean?
Yeah. Well, and then Fratesi as well.
Yeah.
Like
Fratesi was 30, right? How much did he go for?
I think he went for like 30,
somewhere around there, about 35.
35
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, I look at that, and this is where I get irritated a little bit with Gentoli and Elkin, because they're publicly going, oh, we want to buy all Italian players and only Italian
They've
players.
been saying that since they got here, though. So
exactly. But
they haven't done the one thing to justify that, to prove that.
But here's the thing, though, right? If I'm not Fiorentina, but technically Fiorentina, because they rob us blind every fucking window. But if I'm like, for example, an Empoli, or if I'm, one of those teams, I'm like, oh, Juve wants Italian players, huh? Let's bump this price up because they're gonna pay for it because it's Italian. And this is where I'm getting a little bit irritated with it, is that they got away with that for the last, I want to say 6 or 7 years. Because like the fact that Juve had to pull teeth for Locatelli was absolutely insane to me.
Well, there was a lot of hype there.
Yeah, Mike knows I was not a Locatelli fan ever. And I thought it was a crazy amount of money we paid for him. And
it was insane.
He's had a good season for us. He has, but I mean, he's like an Ambrosini kind of player. He's a good fourth midfielder in a 3-man midfield setup.
Exactly.
Play, any of the spots. He's a good team guy. I think all of our guys are good team guys. I don't think any of them are, oh, that's a starter right there. Boom. I think you have two separate problems there, though. One is this our horrible management that we've had since Marotta left. I mean, just because they're selling for that much doesn't mean you need to buy him for that much. I mean, look what Marotta did when he went to Inter. I mean, how much did he buy the Italian players that he had there for? You know, I mean, how much was Bastoni really? How much was DeMarco was already in the system? They didn't offload him for plus Valenza. Barella, they brought him in from Bari for what, 30 million or something like that. So
30.
I mean, these are smart. You know, at Cherby, what an amazing pickup that is. You know, these are smart, shrewd moves done by a guy who's good at his job. Instead, we got Giuntoli chasing names like we're some big deal, like we're a Premier League team, paying guys 60, 50 million for players. We've never really been a club that's done that, maybe here and there with a specific player. But I mean, as far as I've been a fan in the early 2000s, even like Moggi wasn't going out there chucking big cash at every transfer window. He was very shrewd. Get guys on freeze, get guys that are on a good deal. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, I think, to pick guys up on good deals. I mean, how much did Marianucci go for to Napoli? I think he's an excellent prospect.
Yeah.
But now Leone had a couple big games, and his value is going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
But that's the guy we're going to chase because, you know, what's scouting? You know, it's just a hot name. You know, it's like we're playing FC 25, and you know his ratings, whatever. I don't know how that game works anymore, but 5-star potential, and we're just going to go after that guy. So I think that's, you know, the problem is it's our lack of management here. You don't have to sign those guys. So there's guys available that are, you know, if you have good scouting. I mean, so where did Chiellini come from? Barzali, Bonucci, Marchisio, Pirlo was a free. Giaccherini was awesome for us. I mean, these guys were brought in at good prices. They're there, and no one would. And I was there on the forums, pretty active back then. I think I got banned for it, you know, of course. But you know, they were like, oh, this is shit, blah blah blah. You know, they weren't happy about that, and it ended up being pretty damn good, I think.
Oh, I know, and it's always like, for example, the transfers that people like whine, like for example, Kalulu, right? Like people were bitching about Kalulu, and then we're kind of like, hold on. Like I get it, but I'm saying compared to what we have, he performed more than what we have currently, right? And that was the same thing with
and he's cheap,
and he's cheap, right? Yeah. Like that's where we're like, everyone's like, oh man, there's Kalulu and blah 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 blah. Like I'm like, guys, he's not supposed to be a main center back. He's a right back rotational piece, and you can utilize him as a center back if needed.
Yep,
that's right. What it is, yeah.
And that's what it is. And that's kind of what the expectation was. And it panned out to that way. Right. So it's just like, I look at it and that's kind of the irony of it is. And this is where I'm a little bit irritated because, like, for example, Lloyd Kelly, right? We purchased Lloyd Kelly for no freaking reason, in my opinion. And you paid 20 million for him.
Nobody gets this one though. Nobody understands.
And this is where I'm a little bit perplexed because, like, if you were to spend that much money, you could have gone to Empoli and got, like, for example, Ismaili, right? Like as a center back.
Yeah.
Like you could have got Ismaili for roughly around the same amount of money because that's what his value is. And you would have gotten an actual center back that knows the league and can actually be decent.
Yeah, he's a good leader too of a back line.
Exactly. And I look at that and I'm like, could you imagine you get Bremer back and you have him next season? Then you at least have a strong 2. And then if you want to run a back 3, then you could put Gatti in there and you have a decent core 3. But it's just like you look at it and it's just like, okay, let's go. Let's get Lloyd Kelly. And it's like, okay, Lloyd Kelly was effectively replaced by Dean Huijsen, and that's why he went to Newcastle and left Bournemouth. So at that point, you're just kind of like scratching your head, like, Giuntoli, why don't you just keep Huijsen at that point? And this is where those two are, and this is going to be the argument we're going to hear from here on out, right? Well, Motta didn't want Huijsen. That's why Giuntoli sold him, which I call 100% bullshit because you're the sporting director. You tell your coach, either you make this work or you don't get the job. Like if I'm interviewing Motta for the position, I'd say, hey, here's the players that I have. Here's what we're going to have to do. I might be able to get you 1 or 2 signings and whatnot. You have to make this work. And
he drank his own
coach. Yeah, if Giuntoli wanted a coach that had his own opinions, he would have hired Conte. He clearly didn't want that, and that's why he got Motta in, because maybe they agree a little bit on philosophy. Oh boy, I'm so glad about that. But Motta was going to play ball and take who he got. These are all Giuntoli guys. I mean, this is his vision. So yeah, that's all BS. And I think a bunch of stories came out when Motta got canned about this or that, and most of them have been debunked with quotes. I think I was arguing with somebody about Huijsen saying he didn't want to leave, and he literally has a quote saying he didn't. I mean, it's just a bunch of crap. Even
maybe one of the worst transfers for you guys ever, because if you look at it, you look at Huijsen, and honestly, his talent was so obvious. I remember watching games with Ant way early on when he just got his first few starts. The composure he showed at such a young age, like, this guy's got to be something. It's easy to see, just even as regular fans. Yeah, and selling that guy, goes to Bournemouth. The guy he replaces now, Juve then buys for 21. It's wild. And I mean, like
Oh,
that's
it's
you.
it's
Leave a guy
sackable.
who's going to be a world class talent. Like, he's going to go to a big team next, very very soon, and be like 60+ mil, like Hoyson.
It's
And
been a
you see
complete
with Kelly.
disaster.
So yeah, Gentili's the.
But
He's
there's
not
plenty
Josh.
there's plenty of Italians out there out there to grab. I just don't think we're going after the right ones. Like Tonali, I would love Tonali to get Tonali. Why would we spend 70 million on a guy who probably won't even be able to pay his salary? And why? And if he's going to come back and take a salary cut, because if he's not going to go to Real Madrid, who wants him, or stay in Newcastle, we're not going to be able to pay him the salary he's getting now or whatever. I mean, why would he do that? So it's to me, I think you need to look at guys who are on good deals. And I think that's the way Juve should always do business. And I don't know why we're chasing these, throwing almost 300 million around, last season. That's crazy.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to your initial question to that show about like the overpricing of young players. That's been going on for a long time, right? And while I do agree with you on that, there's also no great way to stop that, because if you step in and you start putting regulations on it, I think it's going to trickle down to make it for a really really bad environment. Because where does it stop? What's the limit? How do you hold these teams from charging like astronomical amounts? And I agree with it. It's awful. I mean, look at Andrea Bellotti, right? His career has been up and up and up. And when that happens, you kind of have to strike, or else we've seen this happen so many times over the years. Your career just stagnates and dies. And Urbano Cairo ruined that guy's career. He was going up and up. Milan was going to buy him. He was taking the next step. He's moving to the national team, and they just killed his career. And because they say, you know what, you're not going to buy him for 50, you're going to buy him for 100. Nobody wanted to touch him. And then he had a good season the year after, and then bad, worse, done. And this is happening so many, and you can't really stop those, unfortunately. So you do kind of have to strike when they're kind of up and coming, and unfortunately, that's kind of how it is. And the same thing happens with English players. So it's not like it's just isolated to Serie A. Like, the English player has one good season, their value is 80 million, especially if they're young. It's kind of the modern way. So you do have to strike early. We also have to
of a free market
systemically in Serie A have better development, because these, now like Juve's got next gen, Milan's got their own project too, Atlanta's got theirs. It's a good start, but that's actually need to feed into the teams and not just be sale bait, because that's what's happening. And then you're losing that. So I mean, there's a way around it. It's not perfect, but I don't think that we put a cap on teams.
Yeah, and I get the point there, because, like, for example, I think for me, once you start getting to that exuberant spending, that's when you've already, like, for example, kind of built the foundation, right? Where I think if you're an effective team, you don't really make those flashy purchases unless you're in for a luxury piece. Like, for example, prime example was the 16-17 Juve season. We sold Pogba. We had a pretty solid core, and then, let's just get Higuain as kind of like a lucrative signing, right? And that was kind of the mindset of that Juve, where that was the first time I think I've ever seen Juve splash big.
Yeah.
Because it's like you had your midfield of Pjanic, Khedira, and then I'm trying to think who else was there. Hernandez. No, it wasn't Hernandez as a starter, but that was your main core. But they switched to a 4-2-3-1 that season because of Paulo Dybala playing as the 10. Because effectively Pjanic and Khedira were your back two, and then it was Dybala as the 10, and then Cuadrado, and then Dani Alves. Sometimes they'd put Sandro there, but like that Juve I wasn't mad about the Higuain purchase because he came off a 36 goal season, but you already had everything else. Where it's like, I didn't agree with the Ronaldo purchase because you didn't have anything when you purchased Ronaldo. Like, it was stupid, in my opinion.
It was desperation at its maximum.
It's like, last heave at the thing, where it's like that. If they were to purchase Ronaldo in the 16-17 summer, I would have been fine with it because we had everything else, and all we needed was a prolific goal scorer to take us all the way. Perfectly would have been fine with the luxury. But, like, for example, right now, and this is where I think maybe, and you can tell me about Milan, Mike, but Juve are trying to purchase. They're trying to do lucrative purchases for foundational pieces, and that doesn't make sense. Because, like, for example, a Koopmeyer's purchase would work if you have a solid transitional midfield as far as defensive midfielders and center backs that could play the ball to them.
You're speaking our language 100%. I totally agree. Like those luxury signings you get when your team has a core, you got the pieces, you got the system right, and then you put the icing on the top. It's like the icing on the cake, and it really takes you to the next level. It just helps out, right? But yeah, you're signing these guys who are icing on the cake signings as foundational pieces. That is never going to work ever.
It's never going to, because, like, for example, if you look at the Inter back then, right? Barella wasn't like, again, the lucrative signing. He was a foundational piece. Same thing with Bastoni. Same thing with Sensi at the time, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Cambro
Yeah.
or Daniel
Candreva was
Candreva
awesome.
as well.
Yeah.
Like Lautaro was a cheap purchase. He was, I believe, 30 million at the time, and he wasn't, he was an up and comer. The luxury purchase that they did was Lukaku because they had everything else. So they could get a Lukaku, and it made sense for them to get Lukaku. So it's like you look at that, and then that's where, like, for example, the prime Milans, right? The prime Milans of the 2000s. That midfield of Seedorf, Pirlo, and I can't.
Gattuso,
Gattuso, there we go. What the hell am I
yeah.
drawing? Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like
That's my
you
man.
had that midfield, and then you can get a Shevchenko because you already had Inzaghi that was up there with him. You could have those experimental luxury pieces that they would pull into those teams. Like they had it already established with that core. And it's like, again, same thing with Juve, right? We had that midfield core. We had that backline core. Then we could have, like, I called them the fuck you signings in a sense, right? Because fuck them, right? Like, hey, why'd you spend 40 million for this or 100 million for this guy? Because fuck them, because we have everything else. Where it's like, we spent 85 million on Dusan Vlahovic, where it's like, bro, we got nothing. And that guy ain't nothing either.
I think that whole era of signings was all desperation. I think Agnelli saw it slipping away, and he felt the only way to not lose it, because like when you're just winning every year and you have that run of dominance, eventually it's got to come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he made a lot of mistakes in those few seasons, and I think that was one of many. But
it was uncharted territory, to be fair. Like nobody else had done 9 straight like that before, right? So,
I mean, all you can do every year is screw up at that point. All you can do is lose.
Yeah,
it's like in racing when you're the fastest guy, all you can do is blow it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot tougher spot to be in. So I think Agnelli obviously made a lot of mistakes, but I think a lot of the inflated prices comes from the fact that we were doing that. We haven't set a very good.
It's probably our
reputation.
fault.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look what even just here, Marotta and Inter's been, they had obviously the best roster in Serie A, in my opinion, for the past few years. And they get Zielinski on a free. They start negotiating with the middle of the season. They make the deal happen. See, that's the kind of shit we need to do. Not wait till the last week of the transfer window and then throw some overinflated prices at people and be like, oh, we got this guy now. Let's throw him out there and see how he does. It's got to be a strategy and a plan. And I love rebuilds. I haven't been as invested in Juventus as I have been recently in a long time, just because of the destruction of what was happening with the team. This isn't just a Giuntoli thing. He just made it worse. When we hired Giuntoli, I knew because of what he did at Napoli, he's just a mercenary guy. And, I tuned in to see what he would do, and offloading Ravella and offloading this guy and that guy. And I was like, what are you doing? You're destroying, you're getting rid of our best young guys. And you don't want to have like a pedo team, but you do got to keep your best young guys. And so he's offloading our best young guys and just bringing in these overpriced, in my opinion, totally average mercenaries you're going to take the Serie A with that. So I want to see an actual freaking rebuild. So that's why I'm actually rooting for us to not finish in the top 4, because it needs to get blown up and it needs to be done properly. And it just hasn't been done properly at all.
I'm with you because, like, for example, I'm fine, and I've kind of had this stance. I'm fine with sucking for 2 years where we're able to integrate a young core and build that young core up and have them get game time and experience, right?
But nobody else is. It's like we're the only 4 that are willing to do that.
Yeah, you got people saying like Juve's is winning. It's like, yeah, but there's also a way to win, and we haven't won every single year all the time.
This is where I'm starting to get a little bit like perturbed with the fan base, and I think you could relate, Mike, because remember AC Milan after Max left, where you guys were cycling Montella and a bunch of random coaches, and then the one summer you guys spent 250 million, and then you bankrupted the Chinese owners and that they had. And it was just like, again, this is that version of Milan is what I see in this Juve right now.
Exactly what my brother was saying. He said we're Milan just a few years behind, like as far as where that was going. So
like that's where my like I'm looking and I'm watching this, and then the same thing as I was listening to the Milan fans at the time. Oh, we're gonna win the Scudetto, we're gonna beat Juve, and blah 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 blah. And it's like you guys bought 11 players for almost 300 million, and like there's no way that even makes sense for that to even happen. And then again, nosedive, and I look at it like this, and this is where I'm getting irritated with the Juve fan base, where it's just like we haven't won a title in 5 years. We haven't won in 5 years. Stop acting like
we haven't even come close.
Stop acting like we're this elite winning and this and that, and it's like, and this is the argument that I keep hearing, and it irritates the hell out of me. We need this coach, or we need this for grit. Okay, great. Grit, sure. Grit can get you games that you shouldn't be able to win. You can win off grit.
How do you
right?
buy grit?
But the problem is you don't have a system. You don't have a methodology to the madness. Max's games, when Max coached Juve this last stint, were unwatchable. I agree with that. Totally fine. But at least Dave and I knew when we were commentating these games, if we had a set piece, we had a chance to score, because it was either Bremer, it was either Gatti, it was either Rabiot, it was either somebody else. Fajoli would get a loose ball and score it. Like, it was
They had
Kostic maybe
identity.
doing-
Whether or not it was
Exactly.
pretty, they had identity.
Well, it wasn't pretty
Exactly.
because it was a shit group of players. Like, overall, not a great team. And he made it work. And I mean, in the most Italian way possible, which was obviously defense first.
I
It
didn't
was
mind it at all.
unwatchable. But yeah, he made it work with what he had. Right now, we're in a situation where it's like the spoiled little kid has all his toys and he doesn't know which one to play with.
I think people just want to be modern and cool and say interesting things that make them sound like they know what they're talking about. I'm very proud of Italian football. I'm very proud of Catenaccio. I don't need to be entertained. I love some of those nasty, ugly games. And I remember those World Cup games in 2006. Those are some ugly games, and I loved it. I'm so proud of it. And I think, to go back to your very first point with the Italian talent, I think that Italy has lost its identity completely. We're trying to be Spain, and we're not Spain. We're Italy. And that's the problem, I think, in general, we have with our entire philosophy in the once beautiful peninsula.
Yeah, and from a player perspective, like, for example, for me, my favorite games are the games we won by counterattacking and shithousing a possession-based team. I used to, dude, the amount of trash I would talk, I'm like, damn, y'all had 15 shots and we only needed one? Man, you guys are ass. like that's that for me, that's kind of what it is. I always love those games and I always love winning those games, but then it's just like, and again, I blame a good chunk of this Juve downfall on social media and content
100%.
creators.
Absolutely.
Because, like, with all due respect to them, but like me listening to Marco on IFTV just sit there and be like, oh man, Thiago Motta, amazing style of football and brand of football. And I believe he's hiding under a rock right now, or his excuses they didn't give Motta time. Bro, like, they were about to not make top four. The fuck you mean not get time?
Yeah. Do you remember how many videos came out about the 2-7-2? And I actually sat through and watched one of those things. I sent it over to Mike. I'm like, look at this shit.
Yeah, there's that. And then it's just like, again, like, and we made videos covering it last season. How Allegri ruined Chiesa, how Allegri ruined Juventus. This is why Juventus is failing, and blah, 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 blah. And guess what? 12 months later, this is why Thiago Motta failed. This is why Thiago, like seriously, this is where I get irritated, because it's like, we're doing this and you're putting it on young, impressionable fans, and these fans that don't know any better, that know, again, oh, it's the IFTV. So what they're saying is, they're gospel, right? That's the assumption. And that's where I kind of have my issues with it, where it's just like, again, these content, and we've made this running joke about Adzic as well. It's like, he's 17 years old. Stop glazing this kid.
Jesus, I know.
Like,
It's
stop
it. It's just so weird, right? Like, when you're a 40-something-year-old dude and you're just like jizzing over 17-year-olds, it's just chill, man. Like, why? Okay, like, appreciate him. He's 17, he's doing well, but like, every little moment, like when he scores for Montenegro for under 17, nobody gives a fuck.
Well, it's the same thing with Yildiz back then when Yildiz was scoring against the under 19s. It's like, guys, let the kid play. Leave him alone, because guess what? He gets promoted to first team last season because of Max. And then now, within 6 months, he's essentially the face of Juve marketing right now, because Juve are so desperate to find a superstar or something like this to look cool and hip. They took Yildiz, they put him on NASA ads and all this other shit. And guess what? He struggled in a full season of Serie A, because that's what Serie A is. There's this thing, the sophomore slump. It happens in Serie A because guess what? It's a tactical league and they try to figure you out.
They did their homework.
What Serie A coaches do.
Yeah.
That's why
it takes a true generational talent to weather that weight as a kid, right? And most aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think Yildiz is actually hopefully slated to be a very special player. But I mean, it really takes like a Messi level player who weather that storm, be the face and the shoulders of your team as a kid. So yeah,
Yamal's like the only one right now.
Yamal is the only person right now.
Yeah, there's one.
Yamal is in a very different situation at Barcelona, right? That is a team that knows who it is. They're building from within. They have tons of Spaniards.
Almost all Spanish and all from their own youth system. It's amazing. I wish Milan did it.
Yeah, and as much as I hate to admit, I mean, that's a team that I want to emulate right now. I think an Italian team cannot go out buy people like the EPL, but look at what Barcelona's doing. So, and it's obviously working.
You know, it's ironic because this is a hot take because Barcelona started doing that once Messi left. And I find that ironic. And people were trying to tell me that Messi wasn't a cancer to that club. And I'm like, yes, he was.
Later on, 100%. Because they bent over backwards for that guy. Like, I mean, of course, like the first, he had a long career, but the first several years he wasn't. But at the end, of course. And
exactly right. Well, I mean, because back then, guess who was the leading man of that club? It was Puyol, it was Xavi, it was Iniesta.
Yes, sir.
Like Messi was, or in Busquets, like Messi was like fifth fiddle compared to that, right? Like Messi's role back then was shut the fuck up and put the ball in the net.
Yeah,
like that's it, right? But like once the Neymar and the Suarez's came in, and then Messi was supposed to be this leader that, in my opinion, again, hot take, I don't think he is. He's never demonstrated that he's an actual like dude without having everything catered to him. And you look at Barcelona nosedived because they were getting Frankie de Jong and all these other random foreign players. Where then the moment Messi leaves, and they're like, hey, maybe we should get Spanish players and bring in La Masia again. It works.
It works. It's case in point. And a lot of people argue with me because I also don't say things very nicely, but I mean, it works for Barcelona. It worked for us in 2010. It worked for Inter in 2019. I mean, it does work.
Worked for Napoli. It works for Napoli in 2025.
Napoli right now, man. Exactly. They're the most Italian they've been in years.
And you don't have to buy the most expensive guys. And it's just
the only team that works where you can just make lucrative signings is Real Madrid, and even they've gone away from it.
Got it, man. Yep.
And they've even gone away from it because, like, for example, the main players at Real Madrid, you could be a lucrative signing and you could still get checked by Modric, right? Because, like, for example, there is no way in hell you're above Modric in that pecking order in that locker room. And then you look at, like, for example, the people that'll follow him after that, and it's just like, yeah, Kylian Mbappe, like, sorry, dude, like, yeah, you are what you are, but like, you need to sit down and shut the fuck up if you come into our locker room. And that's because Real Madrid and Florentino Perez is like shown it. He's like, I don't give a fuck if I spend 150 million. Like, I don't care if you're Eden Hazard, I'll still bench your ass. Like, we'll still bench you if you're ass. Like, that's kind of what that method to the madness is there, where it's just like, that's why it works. But like, you look at other clubs and it's just like, for example, you look at Juve and I just look at these entitlement from the players and I'm just kind of like, and again, I don't know if that's the same case at Milan, but from what I'm looking at Juventus, and it's like, really, Dusan, like, this is how you're going to act? Like, oh, you need this, or like the actions on the pitch. And with all due respect, that's one of the reasons why I hated Chiesa, because Chiesa was too big for his britches, in my opinion, because it's like, you're arguing with your own teammates because you didn't get a weighted ball this way, or you didn't do this, where it's like, in reality, tactically, all you would do is just run into the left side of the field and trip over Kostic. And that's why I was always pissed at Chiesa, because I'm like, we have you as a center forward where you can go into space. Why are you occupying the space Kostic was in?
It's big fish, little pond syndrome. And the problem is we're not building, anything substantial here. So when we do sign these big name guys, they're expected to be the big dog, and they're treated that way. And they actually try to act that way by being douchebags. So unless you have guys to keep you in check, like as douchey as Bonucci was. I mean, I remember watching that one stupid show. They had just signed Chiesa, and they were at lunch, and Chiesa started talking. He goes,
"All or Nothing" was the show.
Yeah, All or Nothing. He goes, you weren't permitted to speak. And just keep the little bitches in line. Let them know where they're at. You need guys like that. It's just the same shit when you're in high school playing sports. I mean, there's the seniors are going to keep you in check. You think you're cool because you made the varsity team. It's like, no, you aren't shit, buddy.
Yeah, the funny thing about it is Chiesa's best performance in his career was when Chiellini, Bonucci, and Buffon were in the same locker room.
Of course.
Yeah, those personalities, man. They're going to keep you in check.
Well, I mean, like, for example, look at your profile pic, right? With Maldini. Could you imagine? No, I was going to say with Mike, with Maldini. Like, could you imagine if I was a hot shot player and I walk in there trying to act in a fool and Maldini looks at me with Nesta? Like, Nesta and Maldini would probably snap my fucking legs.
That's why Milan won us Scudetto a little while ago, because even though he wasn't playing, he was at Milanello growing these guys up. The guys like Theo and Leao, who without guidance and direction are very huge prima donnas. got to actually be in check when Maldini was there. Now he's gone. Now the hierarchy is gone, and you see them doing what they're doing. They play if they want to. They don't play if they don't want to. To one earlier point about Allegri, people hate on him. Do you think Allegri played bad ball back in 2010, 2011 when he had Milan with Ibrahimovic, Nesta, Pato, Pirlo? It's a beautiful, because he plays with what he has. So I just wanted to say that real quick because people give him so much flack. When he's got a top-class team, he's going to play top-class ball.
He plays to the player's strengths, what he has, right? Like, for example, this stint with Juve, it was just, again, big bruiser center backs and a big bruiser midfield with Rabiot. For him, it's just like, hey, look, I don't have the build-up play. I don't, like, for example, Locatelli's not a playmaking midfielder. McKennie's not a playmaking midfielder. And Rabiot's not a playmaking midfielder. My only playmaking capability is if I take it out wide and give it to Kostic and Kostic puts it in the box. It's either a corner or they score a header, right? And that's kind of the logic. Same, like, that's what his logic was from a tactical
pieces
perspective.
in it to make it pretty.
But it made sense. I mean, that was what he should do.
It worked. It got us up until second place until Gentile was like, hey, let's get Charlie and Jallo, because not like Jack Bonaventura would have been decent or helped.
God.
But
that's such a that last season was such a bitter pill, because I actually feel like if we just would have kept that team and kept building on that, we'd been in a much better spot than we are.
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
Yep. Would have had a lot more money.
Absolutely.
I feel like we're just I don't even know how do you even sell these guys now? We're stuck.
Yeah. Well, and then, like, for example, even like Allegri's first stint when he had, Dybala, Higuain, Pjanic, Khedira, even Matuidi, Mandzukic, Cuadrado, Lichtsteiner, Alexandro, before he had that career-ending hamstring injury, because that's kind of what tanked his career in a sense. Like that. They dropped 7 on Sassuolo at one point.
Yeah.
They went to the Bernabeu and dropped a 3-piece on them. So it's like, it's not this anti-terror ball. It's Max is one of those old school coaches. It's just like Ancelotti. Like,
man, he plays with what he's got, and honestly, I like it.
And I think that's where we're missing from the game, because everybody wants this branded or this hipster ball, and like
they all want Pep ball.
Yeah, there's only one person that can do it, and it's Pep. Like, Arteta tried it now.
A ton of cash.
Exactly. And then, like, Arteta tried doing it, but like if you look at even like how Arteta does stuff, he kind of pivoted towards more of a pragmatic approach.
Well, Mike, when there's been some players that Milan's passed on in recent years. I know, like, oh, my bad. I know that you're real butthurt still about the Calafiori thing, because I know you guys were on it before, even last year when he became a
$5
$60 million player.
$5 million. We just a random Argentinian kid instead of that, because we wanted
who was that?
Pellegrino, who is now on loan somewhere I don't even know.
Right, exactly.
Have no career at all. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's players to do a proper rebuild. And I think our teams are in similar positions. I know Mike and I at the halfway point did a the little cast on how we tear it down and rebuild it. Milan and Juventus both need to completely gut the squad. I think Milan have a lot more capable pieces, but like there are players out there that we can snag, and we need to build somehow. Try to build a core of people who actually give a shit about the club and can manage that, maintain the quality in that locker room. I don't think you could just go buy players, and if they're going to all of a sudden get it and people are going to care. You can't expect Yildiz to carry this fucking team. And I think he did for most of the season. I mean, he was probably our best player for at least a certain portion of it. And then he fell off, and it's like, oh God, everyone's pissed at him.
You get a 19-year-old. Yeah.
He's 19. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, that's the concern, right? It's him and Thuram that are carrying this team.
Yeah. What if Thuram falls off? He's going to be garbage now.
He's just a few.
Like 2 weeks before they fired Malta, everyone was like saying, bring on Real Madrid. We're getting the Scudetto, Champions League is next. And then, he has 2 shit games. They can the guy, and he's the worst thing ever. And it's a big disaster. So, it's hot and cold. You can't go by what the fans think. I mean, what's the way forward?
Well, we did videos at the beginning of the season, and they were telling me and Dave that we were nuts because we were like, hold on, temper expectations. Like, I'm fine if we get out of the round of 16. Have you not seen Moto Ball? We should be in the semifinal of the Champions League and winning this and doing. I'm like,
expectations do change when you spend almost 300 million, though.
That's a fair point.
But I mean, again, look objectively, because these people are getting told what to believe by these hype, and there's a new hype guy on the internet too. Unfortunately, that covers Juve, covers a bit of everything, but specifically Juve. And it's like we don't need more people hyping up this trash. It's like it's like revering a trash can right now. Like, just chill the fuck out. take the trash out, and we'll fucking go from there. You know, we got to take care of the chores.
Well, and it's the issue, right? Tudor Ball was being hyped up, and we're like, guys, like, stop.
Games. Oh my god!
Did you see his latest quote? I think I put in the Discord. I mean, it's like something Malta would say, you know, and everyone would be pissing him about it. You know, like, oh, the next game's not decisive.
Oh, it's not decisive. Yeah.
Come on, you know, it's well, but he was a Juve guy, so he has green toe, whatever the hell that is.
He has grit, DNA, and fight.
Yeah,
He did
exactly.
just say that every game's a final. So
Yeah. Now he's saying it doesn't matter, right? Whatever. I mean, who cares what they say in interviews? I think that they hate doing them anyways. I know I would.
Oh, Tudor absolutely hates doing it.
But and again, when Max did them, they would look at him like with a razor's edge. They were sitting, oh, Max said this. He's not serious. Oh, Max said this. And it's like, dude, Max has been doing this for 20 years. He's probably like, fuck this. I'm over it.
Yeah, he's going to sit here and talk to these idiots that don't know anything. Cool. Great.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Well, God forbid I don't answer a question for Fabiana Della Valle. Oh, no, it's end of story.
Who gives
sorry about Romeo Agresti. I couldn't because apparently Romeo hasn't made a fucking correct transfer in the last 2 years.
Well, Della Valle, the only thing she did was Vlahovic. That was it. She got that one thing right years ago, and now she's credible. What the fuck?
I don't even know who that
We're
is.
in a weird influencer type of time, and it is actually a hindrance to both of our clubs right now because it will just kind of perpetuate this junk that we're seeing, which is a very unfortunate. As I said, there's lots of hype around things that shouldn't be hyped. There's expectations should be docked a bit, and I would just like to see like a nice, calm, cohesive rebuild, especially at my team. You guys would probably like to see the same. Actually, I'm curious because I mean I know Anthony's opinion on this, but you know, Dave and Dash, how would you guys go forward with Juve right now?
Well, first off, I just want to say I want Milan to rebuild and get back into the fight because it is fucking Milan. They, you know, if it's this is about the Italian,
vice versa. Yep.
Yeah, like both our teams need to do this. But Dash, I'll change that.
For me, it's a full blown nuke the fuck out of it. Like that's kind of where my head is at because, you know, where I start seeing posts like, oh man, Renato Viega, we really need that guy. I hope he stays. And it's like, no. He does not need to stay. I don't want to deal with this right now because it's like, if anything, you look at it where it's just like, I'm fine with Juve being 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th for 2 or 3 years until we get our shit straight. Because right now, if I keep hearing, as long as we hit the Champions League, as long as we hit the Champions League, as long as we hit the Champions League, what is that going to amount to?
It's just money for the club and for Elkin, and it's, you know, like I think the main focus, Elkin's main focus is his shareholders and expanding into new markets and showing growth when he sits in the boardroom. I don't think he actually really cares. I think he makes sure he hires people that say things the fans will like, and when the fans got really mad, then he fired the coach. But I don't think he actually really truly.
How's that working out with Lewis this weekend?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, see, this is how you know, when he took a bigger role at Juventus, the writing was on the wall. I saw what he did at Ferrari. When you sabotaged De Montezemolo and turned the team into, I mean, De Montezemolo had won 7 titles in 10 years, and he had turned around a disaster. You know, he was Enzo's right-hand man. Enzo loved him, and he didn't have to because, you know, he didn't really want that whole Fiat situation to happen in the first place. But, you know, and you sabotage that guy, and you create just a disaster for the past. I mean, he's been there for 15 years now. It's been a disaster.
Exactly right. Watching that race yesterday, I'm like sitting there. It's like you have Lewis on the mediums, and they're kind of like, "Nah, we'll get back to you." I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, if you did this 5 laps, you would have taken him." I'm like sitting here. I'm like, "What is that logic?"
And talking about like the fans and social media, like with Ferrari, it's just as bad, if not worse, over there as well. It's so toxic. And it's hilarious because on one hand, people make fun of Ferrari in this case, the team, the strategy is like, oh my God, what a bunch of clowns, you know, what the fuck they doing? And then they go and make fun of Hamilton, calling them out. It's like, oh, he's such a crybaby, such a bitch. Like, no, he was just saying, guys, you got like unfuck yourselves.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of Hamilton at all, but you're absolutely right. I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, I'm not even a Hamilton fan, but he's on the radio. He's like, boys, do your fucking job. What's going on? We're in the middle of the race and you're jerking off. Like, unfuck yourself.
So fucking sensitive though.
I mean, and there's people on the internet that's like, oh, he's a crybaby.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, and again, remember they hate Danilo.
They've never been in a locker room.
Like Danilo is more Italian than most of the Italian players on Juve.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Like that blew me out the water. Where I'm like sitting here because like when Danilo came in, I'm just like, okay, rotational piece and yeti. The dude literally took in the club, like inherited what it meant to be that player. And then it's just like he gets cast. He's like, yeah, this ain't Juve, dude. Like what I'm seeing right now isn't it. And it's
I mean,
just like,
what is Juve anymore? I mean, it's this is what pisses me off the most. It pisses me off about you say I had this argument, a really good one about Ferrari. People are just fans of it because it's a flag or because they're Italian. I'm like, but what was Ferrari? I went in, for this conversation. What is Juve? I mean, Juve to me, when I started watching, they were a gritty team that was unapologetically Italian. They were always represented the national team the most. They're Italy through and through. And why are they like that? Because for 100 years, the people who took over and were in charge of Juventus were people who gave a shit and wanted to keep that tradition going and didn't change it. And how fucking arrogant must you be to walk in here and say, we're going to change everything. We're going to play hipster ball. We're going to get rid of these guys. We're going to bring in a foreign core. And this is a new Juve. How fucking arrogant must you be to shit all over a century of tradition for your fucking ego? So that's what chaps my ass the most about Juve. And like when I see it with Ferrari with Elkin, I saw that before Juventus, it just fucking pissed me off. You're bringing in a guy that's washed up that, in my opinion, was never the greatest driver ever, not even close. But and he's clearly washed up, and you have a good driver core, but you're bringing him in to sell shirts. And this is where we're at. And I think Michael,
he did.
Milan, he did. Well, they sold shirts. Yeah, I mean, he's a good businessman. No doubt about it, but I don't give a fuck about his business. I care about my fucking team. I don't think sports are a great business anyways. I mean, I think that's why the Americans are buying up these Italian clubs, is because, that they're so poorly run because they're, committing crimes of passion, and they come in, they just start selling widgets and making.
Well, there's so much loyalty. There's so much loyalty to a detriment. Like this happening at Milan right now. Like me, so talking about like the Italians is kind of one of the core of this cast. So Milan obviously split from Inter way back in the day. Mainly, one was like classicism. Milan was more like working core, and Inter was more like bourgeoisie. And then, but mainly because of Italian players versus Inter wanted to become the International of Milan. That's hence their name, and that's always how it was until recently. Milan, for the first time ever, ran a team that had 0 Italians on the pitch, no Italian coach, no Italian owner, literally none throughout no Italian director. Because I mean, like Furlani, I mean, he's kind of, you can't really call him Italian, but either way, like it's the first time in history, and people are supposedly okay with that as long as like they won the game, or we beat Inter a lot of times this year, and that's what like gets people going. I'm like, guys, like Milan means nothing anymore. Milan, and that's why I call them the Red Devils, because this is not AC Milan. There's nothing that actually means the team anymore. Like, and as I get older, I less and less care just about like the victories. If I'm playing the sport myself, I want to win at all costs. I don't really care. And of course, victory is very important, but I want to see my team represent what I loved about them. And if we can do it that way and win, then it's going to mean everything. Whereas if they're just getting a win here and there, they have a flash in the pan season, it doesn't really mean much to me. It's kind of what you're saying. Like if they get top 4, who really cares? Like, what does that do? Are you establishing a dynasty? Are you doing it your way? Like Barca right now is doing it their way. And that's why you should love them. Like if I just want to chase victory, I'd go watch Man City when they were good. Then I'll flop to Madrid. Then I'll flop to Barca. I don't. I love Milan for a reason. I'm sure you guys feel the same about Juve, because I've been supporting them for years. Like there's a reason you bonded with the team, and it sure as hell wasn't just because they get a W here and there. It's because you love what at least that they stood for at some point.
Yeah, and to add on to your point, the only time I would ever be excited about finishing top 4 is if I had a young core team that found a way to play. There's a system, there's something that was built upon, and they got into the top 4 without beyond expectations, right?
Yeah,
like for example, if Juve kept their young core from last season, and if it was the same team from last season minus like Rabiot or some other pieces like that, if it was Sule, Huijsen, Fagioli, and all those Keane and all those guys, like
you
if
guys team is
Dusan was
amazing
sold,
as far as the potential.
and if Dusan was sold and we kept Keane and got some random striker, I'm just gonna throw Pinamonte, right? Like if you got like a young core team and it's like, okay, they're not projected to be well, but they somehow got into the top 4, then okay, great. They've got a year of experience and they finished top 4. Now it's time for them to build on it and you can continue. Because like that was what that initial first Juve team was. It was a bunch of blue collar Italians that won the league. That's a little bit of an extreme case, but they got into where they shouldn't be, and then they were able to build off of it.
Yes.
Where it's like now it's just like, oh, top 4 is the objective. And it's like you have
there's no building.
You have one of the best rosters out there. What the hell do you mean top 4 is the objective?
You should $300 million.
like you should at least just challenge at that point. And I had that with 300 million, you should be challenging for the title. You cannot say top 4 is.
You can buy world-class players for that amount. I mean, what did we spend our money on? I don't understand.
Lloyd Kelly.
Yeah, right. Our entire. I mean, Thuram's the best of them, and he was, he's one of our former.
He wasn't even that
sons.
expensive. He was
Yeah,
like
it
20.
was-
He wasn't
see, though,
signing.
that's the thing, right? About buying players at a low value because it doesn't put pressure on them to come in and perform. And guess what happens? They
Boom.
perform.
Yep.
Like
No,
that's
exactly.
what it is. Like if
The
we
talent
pay
is there, the value is right. Okay.
you do it. Not 75 million for a striker that only was good for 6 months of his career.
To bring it back to kind of like way earlier when you were saying like when do you buy like these luxury pieces, and then to kind of go with your last point, if you were to have Juve, which they had amazing younger core with Dean Huijsen, with Cambiaso there, with Rovella, Fagioli, Moise Kean,
Soule's looking pretty fucking good. Huh?
I mean, all these guys there, but Yildiz, this is amazing. And that's when, if they qualify top 4 with that team and a couple pieces, that's when you buy 2 or 3 top class players. Doesn't matter where they're from. I don't care if they're Italian or not. You buy them from wherever, and then you fit them into the team as a system. The cog is going. That's how you build a world class team.
That is where you would bring in, like, for example, if I wasn't in charge of Juve, taking over the team from last year, from Max's last season. So if I were taking the team over, the moves that I would do is I would effectively, I would probably not renew Rabiot, and I would probably sell Dusan immediately. And then, like, for example, then from the addition perspective, then let's say we get Thuram, right? But the other thing I would add then is I would look at adding one veteran center back, and then I would probably go after Lukaku after that Roma, because Roma's not going to keep him. And I would put Lukaku as a more senior veteran player in your front line, because then you have Yildiz and Sule as your young cats.
Yeah.
Chiesa, I'm sure, again, Chiesa will play second fiddle to Lukaku, because I think the issue was Chiesa and Dusan were arguing of whose dick was bigger than the other. I'm pretty positive those two did not like each other on the pitch.
I think you're right.
And that's where I think the issue was. But if Lukaku's there, he would tell Chiesa's little ass, like, dude, shut the fuck up and listen, right? Because that was one of the issues that I didn't like about Chiesa was always kind of big for his britches in a sense. And the only way that you're able to kind of check him is you need, again, a veteran player to do that. And, like, for example, if you kept the team from last season, an addition like Koop Meyers would make sense. An experienced veteran player that knows how to break between the lines. It would make sense at the time.
I despise Koop Meyers.
I understand that. No, I understand that. But I'm saying, like, for example, that is when the addition of Koop Meyers makes sense. Not this season where you're adding the only returning midfield players that you have are McKennie and Locatelli.
Yeah.
Everybody else needs to be working, and the team needs to be good to add Koop Meyers. I think he's a win more player. I always thought that. That's one of my players I was most against bringing in. I would have rather had Ederson all day long. I would have never wanted to get rid of Rovella. I think Rovella's awesome. I love his attitude on the pitch. I love his presence. Yeah, he's a true D-mid. He's always open for a fucking pass. I mean, that's the kind of guy I wanted to come in. I like Thuram. He's
That would be great in the midfield of like Rovella, Fagioli, or Rovella, Locatelli plus Thuram. That'd be a great midfield three.
Yeah. I was gonna say if you had, like, for example, if you had Thuram, Rovella, and Fagioli, and I would probably say Miretti, to be honest with you. I would switch Fagioli for Miretti. But, like, if you had Thuram, Rovella, and Miretti as your midfield three, like, how fucking sane, like, how sick would that be?
It's great. You got Locatelli and Fagioli rotating with. I mean, I think you have options. I think that's all good, and it's got future potential built into it.
Yeah, and then you've got the sixth man of the year in McKennie. No, but because that would be an incredible, like, for example, 6-man rotation.
The best thing is it required one signing.
Yeah,
you guys had it all,
right? Yeah. And that's the thing about it, right? You just needed one signing, and it was Thuram.
Yep,
it's amazing, right?
And it's like you look at it, and it's just like, damn. At this point,
and one signing for 20 mil is all you needed. It really blows my mind. You guys' next gen was stacked.
Awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. But isn't our defense better too with Bremer, Huijsen, and Gatti as our third guy if we're playing a 4-man back line? Isn't that better already?
Yeah, and you still have like Rugani, who's just like a steady Eddie.
We have Rugani, who I really like.
Center back. He's fine. He's fine as like a 4th or 5th option. He's not starting, but
he stabilized us last.
Danilo would have been your 6th, and then Danilo would have been. Exactly. He could have been your 6th, or
he's a
for example. And that's the thing too, right? Like, for example, you would have at the initial you would have started Danilo, and then you would have had Bremer, Danilo, and then Gatti initially at the start, and then you could start transitioning Huijsen in for one of them.
Huijsen and Savona and guys like they have leaders and a system that they can integrate into instead of just being like, all right, you got to be the guy now. Oh, you fail, what a loser! You're done. Ship them out.
The question is who's the leader on the pitch right now?
No, we don't have a leader on the pitch, and I don't think anybody ever will be.
You
can't. You can't teach someone to be that. I don't. No. That's you either have it or you don't. I mean, It's yeah, no, we and now we have a problem. We got to try to buy that. I don't think that's possible. I think it's
no,
gonna.
you can't.
We're years
Especially
away.
when it comes to Juve, you can't buy it. It has to be something that's that you have to build from within. You have to because for example, Danilo is the last one that was kind of built from within, and that might be an unpopular opinion to folks that don't like him, but Danilo grew up with Buffon. Well, not grew up, but grew into with Buffon, Chiellini, and those guys being there. Barzagli was part of Sardi's staff at the time, right? So it's like those guys were there. Pjanic was there. Like you had those veteran dudes, and it's just like he got it. Like he got it from there and was like the last bastion of what that was. And maybe you can throw Rabiot in there too, but because I look at it now, right? Like I look at it when Max left and I look at it when Thiago Motta left. When Max left, the players were pissed.
Oh yeah, big time.
The players did not like it. And then when Thiago Motta was gone, everyone's like, all right, cool.
And they didn't care.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and it's such a different tale that's told too, because everyone's like, oh no, no one liked Max.
Nobody liked Max. He lost the locker room.
Yeah,
he lost the locker room.
Everybody loves Max, man. Players always play for him hard too.
And that's the thing I found funny was because like I was listening to the content creators, and again, Marco, Max lost the locker room, bro. It's because Gentoli's balls got hurt. That's what it was.
Absolutely,
because he got sad. That whole thing happened because Max told him, "Get the fuck out of my face."
Yep.
Like you didn't do any of this. Get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And he deliberately screwed him over last year. Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, it's a shame. That kind of petty bullshit really does have an effect on your organization as a whole, and I think that's what we saw. And I think I've never been a massive Danilo fan, but when they treated him like shit and disgraced him and shoveled him out, that's when the implosion really happened afher that. It really truly did. I think
went downhill.
Yeah, I think it totally went downhill from there. So I mean, it just goes to show you that if you remove a keystone piece like that, the kind of damage that can happen. It was already going, I don't think it was already going that well, but I mean, it really, I think
with Danilo, maybe his quality wasn't the top, but personality wise, he was definitely a Juve guy. Like that was a Juve guy. So it is the difference.
It's like Zlatan with you guys when you won the Scudetto, right, Mike? It's like Zlatan was 38, 39 years old, but at the same point, he was kicking guys in the ass. Like do you think Theo Hernandez? Exactly. Do you think Theo Hernandez would act a fool in front of Zlatan?
Nobody is going to take Theo seriously. Whereas like when Zlatan's there, Kyer is there, Giroud is there, guys who have clout and class. That's why they have. And you have Maldini sitting above them. That's why those young guys perform the way they did. Now
you don't think Theo's pink hair is going to really set a good tone?
Theo Hernandez, who's going to just he's all about social media and wearing weird clothes. Like that's what you're going to get. And then you got like Leao, who just wants to do rap songs and make fashion videos like that. That's what those are your leaders. Totally different. And that's like, I don't know even who our leaders on the pitch. Mike Magnan's not a leader. And you're having the same problem at Juve. Like you're looking like maybe Locatelli. Shouldn't be your leader. That's for sure. Like, I don't know who is the leader on the pitch.
I'm sure Locatelli's a nice guy.
He's a good squad guy. It's a good squad.
Yeah, he's a good squad guy.
He's a nice guy. He gets a lot of high fives, snaps the guys with the towels and shit. But he's not your leader. Yeah, he's not the leader, man. I don't know. It's
problem.
It's been
such a
swing year.
Everybody thinks he's a Gattuso. That's the issue.
Because
he has slide tackles. He does the slide tackles and stuff.
It's good at that, sure,
it's
but
not even the same.
I know.
Like what the
fuck? That's what I'm saying. Like I think people have this like especially the Glazers for Loca, because how many times every fucking season I have to see that stupid fucking stat. Leads the leagues in passes and pass accuracy and this. Congratulations, he passes the ball sideways for 2 fucking meters.
Yeah, center backs pass better than him now. I mean, your center backs are supposed to pass like he does. It's just the way it goes. Who has a lot of tackles this year is Ravella. Even despite not having that many games, I think he was second for a long time behind.
He's fallen off now, but he was right half the season.
Yeah, he hasn't played. They've been resting him in some games. So yeah,
I'm happy that he turned around because his injury record was concerning me at the time.
It was pretty bad, yeah. But it's these soccer guys are injured all the time. Sorry, they are. They're just such bitches. I mean,
tell me about it.
Yeah, God, I can't handle it. I think I bitch more about that than anything. I think when I'm getting my text message when the game's on, I'm just I actually have found the cure though. I always make sure I watch them late and then fast forward through them. That's been a big advantage.
That's how you get through.
Yeah. I just see crying. I could fast forward at least a minute.
Oh my lord.
That's it was surprising. So we go back and play. We did some of the MUSL league around here and stuff, and you take years off, you start wondering, yeah, they're just doing it because they're trying to get a call. And then you show up to the field and you're playing like, no, they actually think they're hurt.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I was coaching one of my games, the game last Sunday, and dude, the guy they had for the linesman couldn't keep up with the play in the line and called an offside. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, bro, I have one Achilles and I can run that line faster than you right now. He's looking at me, he's like, what? I'm like, how do you call that offside when you're not even on the fucking line to call it? And he's like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. I'm like, we pay like hundreds of dollars for league dues, and the best thing we got is a guy that eats a Twinkie fucking running the linesman gig. Like, what the hell?
That's what you get. Absolutely.
It's a quality
I'm
product
like
there.
sitting here, I'm like, what the fuck? Because it's like the center back started moving, the center back's on a full sprint. My winger is like right behind him, and the second the ball leaves my midfielder's legs, my winger's behind the center back, and then the linesman's like 15 feet behind both of them, and then puts his flag up. I'm like, dog. Like, I get it if it was one time, but it was 4 fucking times, and I'm just like this, and I'm like, what is this? And I like yell at the head ref. I'm like, at this point, dude, I'm like, you gotta stop letting him call this crap. I'm like, he's like 10 feet behind the play. Like, stop it.
It's wonderful. I don't play anymore. I don't think I can handle it. I get too pissed, and I'm too old and broken. But it was very frustrating. I remember I played obviously a lot of hockey, and it's just when you play it with the soccer guys, man, there's a lot of bitching, a lot of whining,
Oh
and
my God.
I'm not an enforcer. I don't talk a lot of shit. I'm like a little fast guy. That's my thing. And in soccer, I'm like an enforcer. It's actually kind of cool. I've never been an enforcer before, so it's been
I
fun
love
to
it.
kind of run.
Dude,
Oh, it's
my
fun.
Oh, sure.
I love doing it.
I've said it on stream. Like, for me, nothing excites me more than a fucking standing tackle, and I just knock someone flat on the ground. It's terrible,
Right.
but I love it so much because it's like, and that's how you know it's, again, I'm going to use the term that you coined, femboys, right? Where it's like,
Femboys, totally.
yep, you bop them, and then they're on the ground freaking out, calling a foul. I'm like, bro, you're just fucking weak.
Yeah, they
Like,
scream,
that's
what's
not
your problem? Like, what do you mean? I'm trying to
What's
get the
your
fucking ball,
problem,
man.
Like, bro, I shielded you off the ball. And that's where it's just like, for me, it's just like, dude, like, sorry, you don't know how to use your body. It sucks. Like, get good, bro. And it's like, and there's games where I'm playing keep, and it's like every time I'm playing keep, I'm rushing the line. If it's a 1-on-1, I'm fucking going for you. Like, it's there's that, and then like
You'll win the
again,
mental game for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, it's and that was my thing that I've always kind of coached. Like, when it comes to footy, is like, play the game of chicken in your head. If you can win the game of chicken in your head, there's no one else that'll beat you on the pitch when it comes to the physical battle, because
Absolutely.
like most players are afraid to take the hit or get hit. Like, there's like, again, I'm body checking guys that are twice my weight. And again, it's because they don't know how to use their body and they freak out when you hit them. Like,
And they're femboys.
it is. And it's just like, and again, I was raised, again, my neighbor, old school Italian, taught me the old Italian way. So that's why I'm fond of the old aggressive, nitty gritty, just like, I'm going to fucking hit you kind of style of play. Because that's what he told me. He's like, Dash, if you don't hit, they're going to hit you. Like, that's the thing about
Sure.
competitive games. Like, you either like you eat or you get eaten. So like, when I'm playing striker, I'm posting up on the center back. I'm grabbing his, like, for example, I'm on, like, my back is on him, like my hand's behind it, and I'm grabbing his shirt. Like, because if I have to turn, I have his shirt, and he's gonna get like, what the fuck's he grabbing my shirt for? And it'll throw him off by a half a second. Like, again, for me, I wasn't the most, I'm not the most talented player. I didn't have the crazy step overs or the elasticos or anything like that. I just ran hard and I was aggressive. Like, it's not like I'm throwing elbows or body slamming people on the pitch, but like when I do my hold up play, like, I'm bopping the center back. Like, hey, I'm here. Like, you're gonna have
that.
I'm a
That's some
problem.
Grinta, man. Whereas
That's
nowadays,
Grinta, baby.
people think Grinta is a grimace, or like, hey, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
post like a nice tough look on social media. That's the
Colored
modern
in
Grinta
tattoo.
you see.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
Jim.
Instagram Grinta.
Yeah.
The picture of them at the gym, working
Yeah,
out,
like-
that kind of shit.
Like
They
that's
do workout.
If you want to
great.
see a lack of Grinta, watch the goal, the Freuler goal. I mean, not a single person has any sort of effort to get. Oh, just get the ball. There's a ton of people responsible, blah blah blah. But it's like, just in the end, that whole game, just the whole second half, just who wants the ball?
nobody.
I watched my daughter, she's 9, play soccer, and it's like the one kid out there that's better than everybody else. It's just the first one to the ball every time, runs right through people, bumps into people, he stays on his feet, just keeps going, because no one really has any skill at that age. He just wants it more. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, I was watching. Before I got injured, I was playing Friday nights, and we were playing up in Farmington. We always played at like Total Sports every night, and there's this one guy I was watching play, and Italian guy. I think his name was Alessandro. Like he played old school Italian ball. Like he was a winger, but would check back down, open up space, be aggressive off the ball. Like as far as like, for example, if a center back or someone was coming in, he'd plant his shoulder down, and just fucking bop him while he had the ball. And it was funny because people didn't know how to handle him. And then I stepped on and I'm like, hey, let me play left back real quick. Dash, why are you playing defense? Just let me play left back. So he was trying to do it to me, and then I hit him. And he kind of looks at me, and it's like, when it's like, game kind of recognizes game, that kind of like that grin. He kind of
Absolutely.
looks at me, and he like fucking smiles for a minute, and he's like,
Oh yeah,
okay.
it's on now, baby.
He's like, okay. And then him and I like were just like shoulder checks and this and that. And it's all clean, no fouls, nothing like that. And it's like, it's a good like old school grit fight where it's just like after every tackle or after everything, like either him or myself are just like, we're just going like this after like good shit, or like that's the games that I live for.
You
Like,
have to
boys
be
will be boys,
careful,
man.
Dash. If people are just listening to the audio, it sounds like you're just going fapping.
No, I love that. That's exactly why I play. I stopped now because I truly am pretty busted up now. But I mean, I played all fucked up through all kinds of injuries just because I wanted to keep playing, just for stuff like that. Because every once in a while you'd find somebody, some opponent that was worthy, and it didn't whine or bitch and just gave you an elbow, or gave it right back to you, like, all right, baby, now it's time to fucking play. I've been waiting 72 games for this. I'm dusting it out. Maybe I wasn't in the mood, but I am now. And that's why you play, even in your late 30s like I did. And it's nice, going to soccer after playing hockey. In hockey, I was, a little fast skill guy. And, man, those guys can kick your fucking ass. They're so tough. If you say the wrong person, you're a dead man. In soccer, it's like, fuck you, I don't care who it is. I'm going to run my mouth to you. I'm not afraid of you. So it is a little bit different being going from the different worlds. But it was definitely fun being a 5'8" center back in soccer, just so I could mess with some strikers.
Yeah. Oh, dude, because again, like there'd be games like I played, like there's times where, so when I injured my knee 7 years ago, to kind of like, so I didn't lose my game sense, I learned how to play keeper because it was less stress on my legs while I was rehabbing and getting back into like full fitness, and I kind of picked up the position. There'd be times, bro, I would just be playing keep and I would just talk shit to the other team striker just to get in his fucking head.
That's exactly what your job is to do as a goalkeeper.
I loved it. And it wasn't like it wasn't like over the top like Martinez at Villa does, but it was just like just pure trash talk, right?
Where, grab your balls?
No, yeah, I wouldn't do anything like that. Like it wouldn't be over the top like that, but like it was just from an entertainment perspective where it's just like I'd get ready and the guy would shank the shot and I'd just go, damn. What was I say? Is that your ball? Like just to fuck with them. Because like footy has always been the mental game. If you can get inside your opponent's head, you've effectively shut them down. Like I remember.
Oh, that's everything. That's everything. Yeah, I mean that's every game.
Julio says they're from Inter.
Yeah, you were a lot nicer than I was. Yeah, I had some good lines.
The key for soccer.
Yeah, you dropped your tampon line was a favorite of mine. The other ones I can't say. That's the only one I can repeat on the stream. But yeah, that was so fun. I mean, I make me want to go out and play. Okay, I'll hobble into somebody at 40. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I'll go in with one Achilles right now. Screw it.
Yeah, I did that. Well, I wouldn't think it was as bad as your situation, but I tore mine my senior year. And I guess I still played. I just tore up the sheet and went out and fucking played. But I could do that because I was 18 years old.
Oh, Primo, I rolled my ankle. I almost broke my ankle. Like I rolled it really, really bad and tore a ligament in my ankle. I stepped out. I got 2 fucking tube socks, tied it on my ankles and a brace, went back out there, scored the game winner.
Yeah, you just play, man. It doesn't matter. Now I tell you what, my knee fucking hurts now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got beat by some little turd. And Michael came up to me after the game and he grabbed my shirt. He goes, "You're fucking done." I'm like, "Fuck you. I'm not done." He's like, "I've never seen you get beat before. You got fucking smoked. You're done." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm fucking done."
Oh, my dad and I, like, because my dad and I used to play on Sundays before I got hurt, and like there'd be times where he'd like totally miss a tackle or like miss a read, and like it'd be a one-on-one, and I'd clean up for him. I'd be like, oh my god, dude, my dad and I would talk so much trash to each other. It'd be hilarious. Because like
playing with family is great, man. My that's the reason I actually got into soccer is because Mike got me into it years ago, in the early 2000s, and it was nice to be able to play in the same team as him because we were always 3 years apart, so we could never play in the same teams through high school and whatever sports we played. We chose different sports as well. So yeah, once we got we didn't start playing until we were third in our. I was in my 30s. So
No,
together,
we
so I was
were
playing
no,
hockey in my
you were
20s.
late 20s. Then I was like mid
Late
20s.
20s, yeah. Yes, we started, kind of late, but we played for a long time together. It was a lot of fun. So that was like the best. Playing with family. It was awesome.
So kind of interesting question. We just talked about the fun regaling of tales and stuff about old, and a lot about toughness and stuff, and come back and not care about injuries and just fight through it. So who would you say right now in this current day and age of professional calcio or soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, who out there is this guy's tough? This guy has actual grit into this guy.
Nobody.
What players these days can you look? I honestly can't pick one. I'm like, this guy's a badass. He's old school.
Maybe the only one I could probably sit there and think is Jamie Vardy.
Because he's 36 or something like that. There's nobody you know what I mean? Who's
I can't think of anything just over the top back in the day.
No,
there's
just
tougher guys out there.
Currently.
I mean, it's crazy to me that guy like Neris is sitting out, with a muscle injury when his team's on the verge of winning a Scudetto. I'm like, don't you want to be out there? I'm like, that would kill me. I wouldn't even go to the trainer. I'd be like, I'm fine. I was just tired. No, my thigh doesn't hurt. I'm good. I wouldn't even admit it. It's just so I didn't get benched.
He's just an interesting question. I thought I was there's not his first time. Man, that guy, he's tough. That guy's a badass. I can't say that. I can't think of a player off the top of my head, at least.
Nobody that gets me going.
Yeah, there's no one there. For example, with us at Juve, it was Mandzukic. Mandzukic was that guy.
Was awesome.
Yeah, he's a hardcore guy for sure.
Yeah, who's your main guy that you'd want Juve to sign this? If didn't matter, realistic or not, who do you want?
Realistic or not? I mean, it's got to be a little bit realistic, no?
No.
I mean,
no one wants Mbappe. Come on, he could stay in.
No, for me, I think you need a strong for me. I'd be fine with for example, if I could have any player, I'd get a Smiley, the center back, because we need a proven Serie A center back that's aggressive, that can hold the back line. It's a stepping stone, but sure, and that's me being realistic, right?
That's very realistic, yeah.
So I'd look at that. Maybe let me see if I can find something here.
I want Rovella back. I feel like his attitude on the pitch, his presence is exactly what we need.
Yeah,
Thuram works really well with him. I think that I can see that being a great.
There's that, or for example, again, I'm thinking defensively, you could potentially get a Romagnoli again, another Italian back line. Have Rugani back, even though that's not technically a signing. But for me, offensively, maybe a Zaccagni, right? He's a hardworking player for Lazio,
Absolutely.
and it's it works for him.
Well, look who scored the clutch goal for Bologna against Inter too. It's Orsolini coming through in that big moment. Yeah. These guys that are people really do get shit on, and I know that I think at the very beginning of this you said something about the mediocre Italian talent. I mean, we always had some of the best players in the world. Do you think that Italian semen has lost its midichlorian count, or do you think it's a bigger problem?
But yeah, it's gone from midichlorian to booty chlorian.
I mean, that's not how that works. It's
I'll say they always have excellent U21 and U19 teams all the time. There's been a few down years, but they always have. I mean, even this past year, they were among the best. So all of a sudden, it fades in their early 20s, and I think that's because of the development pathway through Serie A. A lot of these big teams don't take chances on them, and they don't actually integrate them into their teams. They just either use them to sell off, or they go to some smaller team and they just kind of rot there. And then you get the whole inflationary pricing. So there's a broken link right there, especially in Serie A, and that's why you're not seeing a lot of.
I think
it's a self-loathing culture.
To be honest with you, I think for example, this is where again you should see Serie B clubs purchase them, right? A Serie, that's where I think it should be. For example, those kinds of talent, right? Under 21s, under 19s, are in the Serie B, maybe high end Serie C, right? Where those kids are playing on these teams, getting regular minutes, playing meaningful matches, and promoting themselves into Serie A. That's where I think the bread and butter for that age group would make sense. Or if you have a bunch of promising young talent playing in Serie B, helping those Serie B teams qualify for Serie A, one, it showcases those players' talents. They could A, get purchased by a Serie A team, or B, have that continuity and play on the same team, play in Serie A. But I don't think Serie B teams are getting young Italians. They're getting twilight 30s career Italians on those.
You're absolutely right.
They're getting a bunch of Albanians.
That too.
Well, then they're also getting a lot of foreign players. The growth decree really fucked us for a very long time. I mean, it's been gone for a brief amount of time, and I don't know if it's coming back or not. That it's just been.
Well, you're starting to see teams become a little more Italian now because it's been gone, and it's immediately. And I can't blame the teams like financially. Like when you're going to pay for a similar quality player half the salary, I mean, what are you going to do as a business? So it's just that being integrated was awful for the national team, but. I'm glad it's gone. I hope to never see it back again.
Yeah, that was a major problem. The growth decree really fucked us up. But
yeah,
it's there.
It's there, but I don't know what they're gonna do with it. But because for example, I'm not gonna count Sassuolo, but like looking at Serie B with Pisa, right? Like, so if we look at their roster,
and Zagreb disqualified them, right?
Yep. So then you got a bunch of, so I think let me see if it has their age here. Yeah. So you've got a 17-year-old striker in Luis Buffon. You have Lorenzo Tosi. You have Alessandro Arena, who's 24 years old. He was a midfielder. Then you have Emmanuel Viganto, 24 years old. Moreno, 31. He's an older one. Sarnecola, that's 28. 18-year-old Bassani. And then you have we've got Susi, we've got Piccini. Like, you've got like a good blend of your under 24 players on these teams, and it's just like, why not try to cycle these potential talented players over there, right? Where I think, and again, Sassuolo is leading Serie B, but for me, I've kind of lost all respect for Sassuolo just because of how they were dealing when they were in Serie A with their players. But like, again, that's where I think your bread and butter is if you send these promising Italian players to a Cremonese, to maybe a Palermo or a Bari.
Empoli, maybe.
Empoli, exactly, right? Where
Vidi and Marianucci have been looking really good for Empoli, as well as Esposito, Fazzini. I mean, they're not going to be doing very well in Serie A, but they're getting a lot of playing time and they're going against top competition.
Exactly.
There would help, and then they're kind of showcase. But then the big teams do need to buy a couple, and not just actually integrate them, like with true plans to integrate, and then you probably get
as rotational pieces.
Exactly. Yeah, you rotate them in, and then if they become something great, I mean, like Donnarumma for Milan back in the day was a 16-year-old kid, right? I mean, and it took what's the guy's name, Mihailovic, because he was always known for playing youngsters. Whoever showed what they had in practice, he's like, I don't care your age. He showed something, right? He had a little bit like an injury window to kind of take advantage, and he took over his career. Done. That's it. 16 years old, and now he's possibly going to win the Champions League already.
Well, yeah, and Bastoni starting for Inter, under Conte. I mean, who would have thought that? Who even knew about him? He was on nobody's radar.
Got to give these guys some chances,
Yeah, you got to give them some chances. They really do, and you got to faith in when they're going to have bad patches. It's just part of growing up, and if you're going to commit to young kids, that's the way it kind of is.
Like Yildiz, right? He's going to have bad patches, but you got talent there. You got to stay with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of, it goes from the owner's perspective to the sporting director to then your coach, and I think all three have to be aligned in what they want to do.
Well, Bologna has a lot of good young players that have been coming out. That Sartori has done a great job, and that's a team that operates at a different quality level overall. But he knows what he's doing. He has a plan, and when young players come in, they generally do well. I mean, even Cambiaghi is coming off a major injury, and he looked good before it. He's getting back up to speed. He's looking good. Castro's looked excellent. Calafiore last year. Denendoy. I mean, these guys are they're all doing well because there's a environment there that's cohesive. People, they know what they do.
Yeah.
And even going coach to coach, it's like, it doesn't matter. This is what they do. This is the kind of player they look for.
And that's why, like, for example, right now, from a management perspective, I would say Atalanta and Bologna are elite from a management perspective.
I agree.
And I don't mean coach and player personnel, but like from how their organization is set up and what they do, I think they're there. Like, that's an elite level of club management. Or it's like, I would say like your second tier would be maybe Fiorentina, in my opinion, because like, for example, we can say what we want about, like, and I'm not a big fan of Comiso. I don't like him, and I don't like how we've been robbed blind by them consistently, where I think Juve have efficiently spent enough
That's
money.
our fault.
That is our fault. Yes. But like, for example, Fiorentina consistently, they are a Conference League team, and they are doing well in the Conference League season after season.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
That is it for them. I'm fine. Right? I'm okay with that because they're doing it. That's what is within their realm, and they're executing it. Where it's like, for us, it's like we should be executing at a high elite level as the gold standard, and we're honestly managing a club at the same standard as a Fiorentina, in my opinion. Like that's
I
kind
mean,
of
I don't think we're managing it as well.
fair enough. Fair enough.
We're certainly not selling and buying and selling at the same same success rate.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's where I look at it, where I'm just like, I look at, like, for example, clubs on I'm looking at the top 8 right now, right? Napoli running way more efficiently and a lot more. De Laurentiis is a prick, but De Laurentiis knows how to run a business.
I love De Laurentiis.
Like that's a thing, right? Like I think he's the most like when it comes, like, he is the most annoying person ever.
He's got to be
Total
brutal to
asshole.
work for.
He's my asshole. I love De Laurentiis. Fuck yeah.
And then again, Beppe Morata with Inter, same kind of thing, right? Shrewd, knows the cerebral assassin in a sense. And then you look at Atalanta, and it's like, yeah, like,
Total
for example,
machine.
it's a total machine. And like, for example, and here's a hot take: I think if Gasperini leaves, I don't think they lose a B. Like, sure, they might lose a little bit of consistency, but the way that club is
They
set
may
up,
dip
I think
earlier
they do.
and then pick back up. I don't know. I mean,
Sartori
we're
built
about to
that.
find out.
Sartori started it. Gasperini came in and he's maintained it. It's been Gasperini. I think he gets a percentage of player sales there too. So
He's got a very real deal for him, yeah.
involved. Yeah, he's very involved in the transfers. That would be an interesting one to watch because I think he's out after the season.
That'd be a great
Yeah.
team to watch for next season. See what happens.
yeah, he's leaving. And that's where we should get Gasperini. I'm like, oh, he's not gonna be able to do what he does here.
No, exactly.
I agree.
No way.
Yeah.
No way that happens.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to work at Juve.
Roma, I think it's yet to be determined on how they would operate because, like, for example, Ranieri is 19 games unbeaten, fucking incredible. Like,
I liked their transfers. And I think they got quality players at reasonable prices. I think they did a little bit too much, and they didn't have as much cohesion. But they did bring some good players in. And as soon as Ranieri got there, I mean, he just put people on the bench and never played them. And he's like, no, these are my guys. This is how we're going to play. We're going to stabilize our defense first, and then we're going to build from there. He also had Dybala, which is a major help. I think he's the best player in Serie A, him and Barella. And that also helps. But yeah, I think Roma's going to be okay as long as Ranieri is still there to dictate who comes next. I think.
Yeah. Rumor is that Ancelotti, since the Brazil deal went south, rumors that Ancelotti to Roma. So we'll see.
I don't think he's going to be good at Roma. You think Ancelotti can coach a club that doesn't have all the best players in the world? No.
We are about to find out. I don't think so.
He'll just retire.
I think Ancelotti, like, again, he's a manager of what you have established. Like, he can handle and manage the studs. I don't think he can build things up at this point of his career. I just don't.
I would never hire him to build. That's for sure. And I love Ancelotti because of obviously his Milan history. I still would not hire him right now at this Milan because Milan needs a building piece, and he's not going to build.
Yeah, and I think, again, Milan needs someone that comes in with a clear vision of where they want this team to play and how they want them to play.
They need Conte. Milan needs Conte.
They do, and like, for example, the fact that you're able to get what you got out of Pioli was, again, for me, Pioli is a poor man's Allegri, right? That's kind of how I've seen Pioli is the poor man's Allegri, where it's like he needs additional help or, like, for example, a set foundation in front of him for him to do what he does, right? Or that's where I'm kind of like, for example, like that, right? So I look at Roma and Lazio on the table. I think they're respectively where they should be as far as how they operate and how they manage, in my sense.
I agree.
And then I think, like, for example, Bologna is well above their weight, and that's because they're being run at an elite level. Because Bologna, I would say, is a perennial 10 to 15. Like, on the table.
Sartori's probably the smartest DS. I mean, maybe it's a bit Marotta, but Sartori's right up there with him as far as
I like Sartori. Yeah, I think Sartori with money, like a club like Juve or Milan,
could do an amazing job.
I think he would do an amazing job.
If I was John Elkin, I would grow a pair of balls and I would fire Gentili and I would get Sartori.
He doesn't have balls.
He doesn't have balls.
He has an ascot.
He has a clef wiener.
That would be the most, like, subtly amazing move that Juve can make is that move right there that you just said. I think that would speak more than any player that they could buy, more than any coach, because Sartori would actually help build. So
and again, it's just like, for example, like with Gentili, where I had a hard time understanding, like, for example, the clout behind Gentili as far as, like, everyone's like, oh, this guy's he's a Juve fan. Like, the logic for Gentili was, he was a Juve fan. This is the epitome of being a Juve fan.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Just be a Juve fan. We'll glaze you like no one.
Yep.
No
Yeah,
other
point at the. They're not even Juve. It's fucking bullshit. It's lies. They just point at the damn logo when they score, and everyone's he just loves the club so much.
Oh my God! Look at Dusan loves the club so much he won't go anywhere else, and it's like, bro, because no one's gonna fucking pay him that much. That's why, you dumbass.
What's he on the books? 20 million on the books this year.
22 gross.
Beautiful,
Damn.
beautiful job.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
22 for 10 to 15 goals.
Just get rid of him for whatever.
He is. You see, it's like Juve didn't watch Milan with Piontek and was like, "Hey, we should do what Milan did with Piontek," and it's just like, no. Like every Milan fan is like, no. That worked out great for you guys.
Worked out amazing. Yeah, paid like roughly 40 mil for like a striker who had a half good season and the other and 1.5 seasons awful. Terrible.
It's what are mitigating factors when for risk when buying a player? Cost, athleticism, work rate, body of work. I mean, there was very few out of those 4 checkpoints. Maybe they got one there. Let's at least have 2 of those boxes checked.
Yeah, usually he just buys a bunch of guys, and he definitely.
So he did it at Napoli. That's why I didn't want him.
Yes. Okay. He got Cavara. He got Kim. Yeah, but he also like missed for years in his whole career.
Oh, absolutely.
He's been amazing. He had one lightning bottle season. It wasn't like he was great.
Yeah. Look who we bought after we sold Higuain. I mean, that's case in point. I mean, if you look at his whole body of work, and it's not like Cavara. He wasn't some undiscovered gem.
Not at all. I mean, I was looking at him for 2 years prior to that because of Kaka Kaladze, because he had Lincoln in Georgia with them. So I mean,
was 70 million. Yeah, I think maybe Kim was the only one that was.
Kim was the only one that I had no idea about. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think that Napoli's success wasn't built off a strong foundation. It was just more so everything kind of fell in at the right time. Because with all due respect to Spalletti's not a master tactician.
I totally
agree entirely. Yeah, it was totally lightning in the bottle. Everything just worked. I don't know why, but it just did. And there you go.
Yeah, and then you guys exposed him badly. In the second half of the season, you guys exposed them. It was huge how bad you guys exposed them, and then they weren't the same since. They struggled that next season, and like for example, and that's why Spalletti left. He's like. It's like the Magic Johnson. I ain't gonna be here next year, right? Because he knew, and that's why he's just like, I'm gonna step away. It's like again, he knew it wasn't just like for example with Zidane, and I don't know what your thoughts are, Primo, but like for me, I still don't understand the Juve fans that are like, oh, Zidane will come in and save us. Look at what he did.
Why would he come here? He has a perfect coaching career. All he could do is fuck it up.
Exactly.
He's never coming here.
He's never coaching again.
He shouldn't. You know why? He's
never coaching again.
Career. Perfect.
Like literally 3 for 3 in the Champions League, and he's like, "Fuck this, I'm out. See you later."
One of the greatest players ever. One of the greatest managers ever. Now, bye.
He's like 3 Champions League, then 4 seasons. He's like, "Fuck that." And he's like, "I got a couple of La Ligas on there too." He's like, why would I need to coach? He won club football. He effectively won club football in 4 years. He's like
never gonna get a team bet on that team that he could possibly coach. Bale and Ronaldo and all those guys. No way.
He beat the game. He beat the game. He broke it.
He broke it. The only time I could sit there and think, okay, yeah, he would come back is if, for example, Thuram, Marcus Thuram, Mbappe, that entire French team becomes internationally stacked. That would be the only time I would see Zidane come back, just so he could win the World Cup and the Euro, and then just quit after that and be like, all right, I'm done.
He might come back in that and
for France.
For France.
I could see him for France.
I could see that being his only. Yeah. He's not going back to club football. No way.
No, there's no way. There's no reason for him because he's effectively. It's just again, he's like, there's no reason. And I keep sitting here and I keep hearing these content creators, man. Let's go after Zidane. Let's go. Bro, the guy is sipping Mai Tais at the beach and giving 2 fucks about doing anything right now.
Who would you want to see as a coach for you? So obviously DS is probably more important, but who would you want to see as a coach if you can't get Conte? If he's not on the table, who do you go for?
I don't think Conte's on the table.
I don't think he is. If I'm okay, for example, if I was to have my model or we could be, we're afforded to be mediocre for 2 years, I would either take Palladino or I would take Italiano. Because those 2 have used young Italian players, especially Palladino at Fiorentina. For example, I would give Palladino a young Italian team, let him build for 2 seasons, see where it's at for the 3rd year. If he can compete, you keep him long term. If not, you send him away.
Right, and then you can your kind of top class pieces. Yeah, I honestly think Palladino it would be a great building piece, but the whole organization has to be okay, being
absolutely
for 2
right.
years. because otherwise the pressure is going to build. You're going to get the same stuff with like Mota, and then it's going to.
If I was like, for example, again, if we were to liquidate again your expensive assets and start fresh, right? Well, like if I was given that, I doubt that something like that would ever happen. But if I, Dash is a sporting director here, I would liquidate Dusan. I would probably, to the unpopular opinion of many, I would liquidate Yildiz and start fresh. Like maybe I would keep Bremer as your main piece because I don't think he's going to fetch you anything just because of the injury, right?
Yeah, true. I would say I would sell him because he's probably worth a pretty penny, but yeah, probably after the injury. I'm
but
sure
like post injury, that's where my head is, right? Like for example, and then again, I would get probably it's impossible now, but I'm saying if I had the ability to get Keane, I would have Keane as a young Italian striker to build up. Then again, like for example, have Fagioli in that midfield. Moretti's coming back, and Moretti had a pretty decent season. My midfield three is going to be Thuram, Moretti, and then Locatelli right now, or maybe. And I doubt Lazio would sell Ravella back to Juve, so that unfortunately,
it's such a sour.
I do think that doing stuff like that does help. Like say, hey, we were wrong. Like and we admitted that, and now we're actually starting to build. Like that's actually my main signing from Milan is I would go break the bank to get Tonali back. So that was a massive mistake that I made. Just to make a couple bucks and then sign like 2 Joe players. It's like that's something that would admit, hey, are you just going to go back and be on the right track again? So it does make a statement.
And then I would look at it like, for example, trying to figure out a way to get maybe Orsolini and bring him in again because he's played in the league for a while now. He's on the trek of almost like he's 28 years old, right? So he's familiar with the league, knows how to do it, and he's been playing consistently.
Solid player.
He'd be a good Serie A player for another like good 3 or so seasons,
right? And that's
proper pro.
And that's where, like for example, that's where I think Juve, and that's where I would take my rebuild, right? Is I would look for those proper players where I would look for again consistent 7s. I don't need 8, 9s, or 10s.
Yeah, there's no question there. He's going to be good. Consistent,
right?
The next years.
You would need 7s to set the table, and then that's where again I think, like for example, and if you look at the Fiorentina makeup right now with how the team runs, is you've got Keane, you've got Zaniolo, then you've got Gosen.
I love Goodmanson too.
Yep, you've got Richardson, Ndor, and then Parisi, and then Comuso, and then Mari, and then
Dodo.
Dodo as well. And again, that's kind of what they're doing. And Palladino is tactically flexible. He can run a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2. He can run a 4-3-3. So he can do all of it tactically, and he's capable of doing it. So it's like that's why I'm a big fan of Palladino because, like again, he knows how to put in certain players. Like for example, build a confidence for a Parisi or a Keane or other players where he's able to cycle them in because, like for example, he's done it twice now. He took Monza, which Monza is. They're relegated this season because he's not there. He's not coaching.
How are they doing without him? Yeah.
Not great. And then, in my opinion, I think he's taken what Italiano's done at Fiorentina and enhanced it and made it more consistent or maintained the level of consistency. Where, in my opinion, I hate saying this, but I think he's a better coach than Italiano because I think Italiano's benefiting off of what Sartori's doing at Bologna more so than, like, for example, Palladino kind of took over a Fiorentina and is just like, hey, they're at 59 points, but they could easily jump into top 4, right?
It's also a very different team than the team before last year. There's certainly some pieces there, but the whole shape and makeup of it is certainly different. They brought in a lot of players at the beginning of the year, and then at the halfway point, they almost retooled again. So like he's kind of rebuilt twice now in 1 year. So to your point, yes, I think he's working with a lot less, but he's retooled twice now and done a lot with that. And I think they're overachieving for sure.
And he's 4 points off of 4th place, right? Where like Italiano at his seasons at Fiorentina were 12, 15, 13 points off. Yeah, where it's like they're in 8th right now, right? Like they're in 8th. They normally finish in 7th, right? But it's like, look at it though. It's Fiorentina 59, Bologna 62, Lazio 63, Roma 63, Juve 63. If any of those teams could immediately skid and drop 2 games back to back, Fiorentina's in. If Fiorentina
I mean, they're in the semis of the other conference league. Yeah, the game 1 didn't go so well, but it's not unwinnable. They're down 2-1. So
but I mean, and that was in Spain. It wasn't in.
Exactly.
So they have
a good coach too. Is his players are performing well. Like Ranieri looks really good. I think he's a very underrated player.
Oh,
I know Camuzzo's been a big deal, and I really do like Camuzzo, but Ranieri's been an excellent captain. He's not some old guy. How old is Ranieri? 26, Mike? I think we looked up at the last episode we did. 26 years old. I mean, Ranieri is playing excellently. He's leading that team well. He's being a proper captain. I think he got a big goal last week too. I mean, he's just he's playing great. He was a rotational piece last year, and now he's a foundational piece for Palladino. Mandragora is playing excellent. Has an excellent season.
Yeah, you see this with good coaches. Like their guys like just will overall as a team just elevate. So no, I think that's a good shout for a building coach for sure.
Yeah, and that's for me. That would be my number one pick. Is I would take Palladino and I would give him 2 years, 2 actual years where no Champions League, none of that. Get everything in order. If you overachieve, fine, fantastic. But for me, my expectation if I were to get Palladino is by year 3. You would have to be able to compete for the title.
Absolutely.
Like you would have all the pieces together, compete for the title.
Yes,
I wouldn't be giving him
Juventus.
Yeah, I wouldn't give him like again, and this is where I think the whole Motta experiment fucked up is if Giuntoli didn't spend 300 million, I would have been okay with giving Motta time.
I agree.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree.
I would have been perfectly fine. But again, you spent 300 million, you're going all in. Mm-hmm. That is showing win now, not win in 3 years. So when you start
what a weird signing to make. He signed Motta, who's like supposed to be a building coach. Every UF fan I know at least was saying, "Oh, he's a building coach," but then they spent the money and you said as a win now. 300 mil is not a
and they spent it poorly. This has been a complete disaster class from Giuntoli. It's just all on him. I was never a fan of Malta. I know Mike. We had a lot of talks about this last year about Malta. I was never a fan of Malta, but I don't think he did that bad of a job. I just don't think, I don't know who could have done better. I don't really know. He had a whole mess of players. It was a whole mess of situation. You see now with Tudor, we're getting the same
early
results.
on. He was okay. He was just being consistent. Later on, he started to do wild stuff. I think
it imploded. He lost confidence. He's a young coach. He had a lot of pressure, and he totally melted down. Absolutely, no doubt. He couldn't stand the pressure.
Well, and again, like for example, if you look at Malta's coaching history prior to with Spezia and with all those, like he in Genoa, like he didn't really do that well.
No, he didn't. You're right.
Like he didn't. Like he came into Bologna and kind of took advantage of with Mihalovic left, and then kind of just slightly tinkered to it. In my opinion, I think they overperformed last season and kind of caught the league by surprise, which is why I think what Italiano did this season with Bologna is more impressive than what Malta did last season.
Well, they also got rid of 2 of their best players.
Exactly.
Calafiore and Xerxes were playing outstanding. Ferguson was out for a large chunk of the season. He's an excellent player. I really like him. I mean, it's a good sporting director, I think, is more important in Italy than anything else. But if I couldn't have Conte, I'm totally with you. I would definitely take Palladino.
Yeah, and again, because like I said, it's just kind of like the body of work speaks for itself. Hell, even Italiano's body of work speaks for itself. Like both of them have progressively improved in coaching gigs. Where it's like, for example, with Motta, it was Spezia, and then it was it was Genoa, then it was Spezia. It used to be Frosinone. He started off in Frosinone, then he went to Genoa, then he went to Spezia, and then he kind of went to Bologna, which is kind of like a mediocre step up. Where it's like, for example, if you look at Palladino, right, or if you even let's use Italiano, started at Spezia, went to Fiorentina, and then he went to Bologna. Like it's consistently going up as far as quality. Performed at Spezia. One of the reasons why Spezia was not relegated was because of Italiano. And then he goes to Fiorentina. Fiorentina was a laughing stock prior to him, right? 14th, 15th every season, 17th at times. Where like they were effectively relegation battlers. Goes in there, keeps them consistently at 7th.
Yep.
With Comiso being a pain in the ass to deal with.
Top half of the table.
Exactly. Kept them there. And then goes to Bologna, and everyone's expecting Bologna to drop off, and there's Bologna competing for top 4 again. Right? That is, again, a body of work. And again, for me, I didn't like Italiano ball off the start because I thought it was too risky, but now Italiano's become a lot more pragmatic in a sense. Like Italiano, and German Dave called this a while ago, so I'm giving him his credit for it. Italiano evolved his game last season. Because Italiano kind of realized, okay, I can't win this hyper aggressive, this hyper offensive. Let me ebbs and flows. And you're seeing that this season, right? Like they played us pragmatic as fuck.
They absolutely did. That's a great point.
Like they didn't.
I'm hard on him for his unreasonable aggression at times, but he has had a much more reasonable season this year. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, and he's like, again, like, for example, and I think, and we were calling it on the watch along, like, holy fuck, like Bologna didn't really do much, but at the same time, it's
Yeah.
fine. They equalize it, and they're like, all right, cool. If we get a chance, we get a chance. Like, we need a point. We got the point off Juve, and we move. Where it's like, that's where I've seen the evolution of Italiano's coaching style, because I know 2 or 3 years ago I was getting pissed off because 4-3 wins, 3-2 wins, and I'm like, that's not sustainable, and that's not the markings of a good coach.
That's actually
And
a
for
really
me-
good point.
And for me, what pissed me off about Italiano was the Europa League final. I think it was against Villa. I think, or it was the Conference League final against Villa, because David Moyes was managing. Yes, they had it. They had it in the fucking bag, and they lost that game because Italiano played a high line for no fucking reason against the uber pragmatic in David Moyes.
They also lost last year to, who was it, Olympiacos?
Yep.
Is he just that guy?
I don't know. I think that your point
Sounds,
is
hey, it
about
sounds
how
like
he's
Juve
growing.
DNA. It sounds like Juve DNA.
That's fair. I definitely don't know if I could survive a coach that isn't a defense first guy, because that's just my brain. But I like Palladino. I could deal with Italiano. I just want to see like an actual fucking plan here.
I like
Go ahead.
both goals, but I do got to get running though, boys. So thank you for having me on. I got to take care of the kiddos, but no,
You
honestly,
got a little baby.
I do want to give a little props for that, because I do like the progression you're saying about Italiano. I'm gonna keep an eye on that, because I'm also anti. I'm hard on him for his super offensive tactics. But yeah, watching his growth is something interesting. But thank you guys
Yeah.
a ton for having me on.
Well, I mean, it's almost been a full 2 hours. I mean,
I know. It's crazy. It doesn't even feel like it's been 2 hours.
Yeah, it's been a good
this
chat, right?
conversation could go on forever. Obviously,
I agree.
it just keeps on rolling. So we may as well just kill it there. Then, fuck it. Yeah, it did just fly by. Get in the comments, everyone. Let's hear your opinion. This is just 3 Detroitians and some Canuck.
Detroiters. It's Detroiters.
Detroiters, whatever the fuck you are.
Yeah, I don't even,
Detroit knows ball.
City.
Detroit.
Visit Detroit.
knows ball.
Come visit
All right,
Soda
guys.
Sopa.
Well,
Yes,
on
sir.
that, thank you, Michael Anthony from Primo Calcio.
Thanks for having us
Dash,
on.
as always, like, subscribe. Go check out Primo Calcio on YouTube as well. They're on my weekend lineup of podcasts that I listen to on my way into work. So,
Thanks for having us on, boys. Good chat. Really
Get your
appreciate it.
discussion socks on, fans, because these 2 hours, this gonna be good. Should
All
have
right.
played this in the beginning.
good night, everyone.